to the MMA Road Show, episode number 150. My name is John Morgan, and let's just get into it. I'm right here. I'm in Perth, Australia, with Mark Hunt.
Good day.
It's just a special opportunity to sit down with Mark Hunt.
John.
No, we're not in Perth, Australia. Damn it. I was going to try to keep that going, but it wasn't going to. No, we're not. We're actually in Las Vegas, but it's actually all right because you know what? We are in the spiritual birthplace, as far as I'm concerned, of the MMA Road Show. It is Buffalo Wild Wings on Warm Springs and Durango. You finally journeyed the 15 minutes it takes to drive
15.
from your house.
It was longer than 15 minutes.
There may have been a little bit of traffic or whatever, but 15 minutes or so from your house. And join me in my spot at the spiritual birthplace of the MMA Road Show for this
spot.
Incredible edition. I mean, look, we got sports everywhere. We had a nice dinner behind us. We had some, hot wings, some cold beers flowing. The Winter Olympics are underway, which, I mean.
I was going to say, there's some ice skating on there.
We're not watching much of that, but.
Got the Golden Knights on.
How about the Vegas Golden Knights?
Yeah.
First place Vegas Golden Knights. That's how we're doing. So it sucks. I think we both wanted to be. We won't belabor the point, but we both wanted to be in Perth, Western Australia, for the UFC event this week. But we're not, and we're making the best that we can.
Yeah. It's funny because I dug out when I was getting dressed to come out here. I found one of the Australian drinking team T-shirts that our Australian family had given us. And I did realize that I think the T-shirt was small even when I first was gifted it. It seemed a little bit smaller now, which, just means I need to get back up in that gym. A little bit less of these B-dub nights, I suppose. But this was a good switch up. It did take a minute to get out of here. But that's all right. I'll take it.
Such a baby. All right, let's talk about it. Listen, we're going to talk UFC 221, of course, which is in Perth, Australia. But I did want to talk briefly about UFC Fight Night 125. We didn't do an and a half episode, first of all, because we weren't there. So what kind of insight are we going to bring you?
Yeah.
Secondly,
let me tell you about all the backstage stuff we didn't see.
Secondly, what was it, 10 Brazilian winners out of 11?
Yeah.
I will say this. As the night was unfolding, I was kind of thinking to myself, like, you know what? Like, had we been, like, telling our bosses that we have to be there and, like, we promise this will pay for itself and it's definitely worth it, we'd have been in trouble because there were, like, 9 Portuguese-only speakers that won that night.
And this was even the night that I was like, man, you watch it. The Americans, the English speakers could show up. And as the night was going on, I was like, yeah, never mind. It's going to be a typical Brazil card where the Brazilians have their way. And they certainly showed up, But
it's cool. I missed that, though, because I wish I would have been in the arena for that because you could hear a little bit on the broadcast. The Brazilian crowd was getting excited. I mean, they were definitely the home team was winning, and it had been a rough year for the Brazilians. I think Guilherme Cruz from MMA Fighting had been documenting that I think they were like 1-9. Brazilians were 1-9 in the UFC coming in, and they went 10-1 on the night. So it was a good night. It was a fun night of fights, but it wasn't particularly memorable, I guess, for American fighters.
No, not so much. There were some really, really good fights out there, but that's one of the things, like, usually I'm stuck in the back, and I never get to really feel the full crowd event,
right.
The feel of the crowd. So, for me, it wasn't that much different in the sense of just watching the fights from the TV, except that, we didn't have those lovely interviews at the back where normally they'll set us English-speaking media off to the left side or whatever, and then all the Portuguese-speaking goes off to the right side or whatever, so we can sort of separate the two and keep things going. But I did miss that, and I miss all the delicious, like, fight night stuff they put out there, because usually they put, like, some weird, like, Brazilian treats, like cheese and, what's the stuff that's, like, you take condensed milk and you –
Brigadeiro.
What is it?
The chocolate?
No, it's like
I thought you were talking Brigadeiro, like
that is good, but no, this is like when you take condensed milk, but if you like boil it in the can or something, it becomes almost like a caramel.
Oh yeah.
And dulce de leche or something. Yeah. Oh my God, is that stuff good? And but I mean,
hard-hitting news.
I know,
right
it's like, the fights are great, but let me tell you about the snacks that they put on.
All right, let me ask you a question.
And the pão
de
queijo.
The pão de queijo, where we
not
realize.
Pão.
Do you know the difference? Can you get it right?
If it's the pow with like the nasally noise is good.
Okay.
But if you say pow, that's like saying cheese dick.
For those that don't know, if you're a long-time listener to the MMA Road Show, you might know this.
Pow.
But basically, cheesy bread is an awesome Brazilian staple. If you
So
go to like
good.
Texas Day, Brazil, you're gonna get an amazing example of it. But it's pão de queijo. Am I saying
Pow? Like pow.
Okay, that's the right one.
It is what I was always told was the red.
That's cheesy bread. Now say the other one.
Pão de queijo.
Pão de queijo is cheesy dick. So there you go. You have to
So
be
when
careful.
you go to the store, don't try to, or like if you go to like a restaurant or something, try to say that it's like a nasally like sound, because that's the cheesy bread. Whereas if you just kind of be like an American and say, I want that pão de queijo, you're asking for cheese dick.
You might be surprised what the server comes back with, is all I'm saying.
Where's your loincloth, sir?
The cheers around us were amazing. I'm telling you, listen, I've been in Vegas for 10 years. It's so cool to see people cheering for one team.
Yeah.
That's never happened before. I mean, everybody always just cheered for whatever team they had money on, but the Vegas Golden Knights just scored a goal, and everybody's cheering. Very cool stuff. We don't normally get to see that. All right, so just quickly, UFC Fight Night. I want to ask you a question, though.
Pão de queijo.
Not that question. The question is, so I mean, you basically. So I do both, right? Like I work cage side sometimes. I work backstage sometimes, and I've said this before. Like, I mean, the cage side seat's amazing, right? Like you see, I'm 4 feet from the cage. It's incredible, right? I get the best seat in the house. It's amazing. But I will say this, like, there's something really cool about speaking to those athletes, like when they're still high on adrenaline.
Oh, yeah,
you know what I mean? So let me ask you a question. If you had your opportunity to do whatever you wanted, and maybe this will be colored by the fact that you normally do one job and you like to do the other, so maybe it's a stupid question to begin with, but
I might surprise you with
I was going
to
say, so if you had the chance, I mean, if you could carve out, because not that I would never put you cage side, but I don't think you want to do the play-by-play. I don't think you want to write the recaps. I think you're happy being a videographer specialist. But if you had the opportunity to say, you know what, John, I don't want to do backstage night. I want to do cage side. Would you prefer to sit cage side, or would you prefer to do what you normally do?
You know, typically, and I'm a little bit different than probably what some of the other guys would say, but me having my experience of where I was able to go to with the UFC,
right?
I'm perfectly fine just staying in the back. Like, I don't want to say been there, done that, but I kind of have been there and done that. You know, I mean, I used to be able to walk in front of the press thing. I'd walk all the way around the cage. I'd get the hand raised, cage side. Then I'd follow the guys all the way through the walk back and, sit outside of the medicals. I mean, it couldn't get any closer. So I guess I got my fill in that sense. Right. I mean, I do miss the atmosphere. I do miss, sitting there and watching it through the cage as opposed to watching it on a screen.
Right.
But I'm so used to just now watching it on the screen from the back that's kind of, what I'm used to. But I do like the interviews as well. And I do like, even in those weird cases where, like the Charlotte event, where it was me in the back and it was like one of the most stressful events. But seeing that gratification, seeing that recognition in the fighter's face when they're like, oh, like, thank you for, like, being here to, like, interview me in my post-fight, especially when they knew, like, this is the last thing. They fought their fight. They had to, they go through the medicals, and then they're told, hey, we got to go do media, and then we're coming back. And then to be that media, be that part of their fight night.
That's cool.
You were part of their fight night.
Yep.
If I'm sitting cage side, they don't know who's cage side. I mean, I'm not part of their story. So I have a chance to kind of share a little bit in their story by being in the back and doing that sort of stuff. So that's kind of cool for me.
I agree. It's funny, as I've started to do more. I mean, there's nothing. Obviously, I love the sport, and so it's amazing to be cage side. And it's really cool. First of all, the one thing I love about being cage side is, and this sounds kind of weird, but being
the high-speed hardwired internet.
That is nice when it happens. What I really like is the sound of the punches, the sound of the kicks. Like when you can hear the way they land, like I think you have a more appreciation of like, oh my God, like that dude hits hard, that dude lands. You know what I mean? Like you really hear it. So I love that aspect of it, and I do love the aspect too of because I don't think I could be disciplined enough to watch a broadcast and hit mute and turn it off.
Yeah.
So I love the fact that I can watch a fight and I'm not being influenced by anybody else. Like I'm not hearing a broadcaster, I'm not hearing a commentator, so I'm getting my thoughts on the fight and then I can share it with everybody afterwards, and I can compare and contrast with everybody. Whereas I feel like if you're watching on TV, which sometimes you don't even have the sound on in the back, so you kind of get that to a degree as well. But when you're watching a show, I mean, Joe Rogan is a monster. John Anik is a beast. I mean, they're great at what they do, but whether they mean to or not, they're definitely influencing the way you watch fights. You know what I mean?
Sure. But sometimes sometimes I'll notice though that if I'm editing and I'm not watching that, that's the only way I get to really kind of get clued in. So I'm listening to the commentary and I might hear and then I'm like, okay, let me look. I need to look. Whereas if I didn't
you have
hear
to have it back there. Well, that's what I was going to say. So that's the aspect I like of being cage side. But I'll tell you what, I love that moment of being backstage. I love that moment of being back. Even though I'm not as skilled a videographer as you, I do love those moments of being back there and just seeing them while everybody, like I said, still high on the adrenaline. Yeah. Still, sharing what they thought. It's, they're still wiping the sweat off. Hell, sometimes they're still wiping the blood away. Yeah.
Because cool. Depending where it's at, because literally some guys, there was some hold up on some of the interviews in Charlotte because they did their initial media medicals, and some of the guys went straight to stitches. And then came straight back to you. I mean, they're still wearing their gloves with the bloody wraps.
That's awesome.
I mean, like, they haven't went back to the room. It's not like they're like, oh, hey, let me go shower up, and then I'm going to make it. They're still, literally living that moment. They're still coming down from that whole adrenaline thing. So it is neat to be there. But, I guess I'm a little bit different than some of the other guys where I feel like I've seen up close and I've been close in a lot of aspects. So I guess I don't miss because I don't know what I'm missing or because I've already been there, whereas I can see new media that comes, they're just chomping at the bit like, oh, I want to go out there. Right. Like if my first event was I was stuck in the back, I would probably get anxious. I would probably try to find my way. How do I get up front? How do I get out there? I would probably feel that way, but I guess having that luxury of having that experience, being able to go wherever I take and I'm able to appreciate more sit in the back. But I mean, there is nothing like that. The crowd when it gets up and it just gets going, and we do miss that feeling in the back. Yeah, that is one downfall is that we don't really get caught up in that. But we are closer to all the media food, if that's a plus. We have plenty of water usually. The coffee's there. Restrooms are usually not that far off.
All right, let's talk about UFC Fight Night 125 real quick. Like I said, I don't want to spend too much time on it. But first of all, I didn't check. I should have done my research. This shows me being ill prepared. How'd you do on your picks? Because I don't know if people have seen this, but Cold Coffee Ken Adway is part of the picks this year. I love it. We've got 14 people picking fights on our staff picks.
I picked Johnson wrong, that's for sure. I went Johnson.
But come on, man.
I went Gollum.
No disrespect. Gollum. Jesus Christ. No disrespect to Timothy Johnson. I like Timothy Johnson.
No,
but I think Gollum. I can't believe he said Gollum. Now it's going to be stuck in my head. I believe Marcelo Gollum. I believe Gollum could have won that fight.
He could have.
I believe he should have won that fight.
He backed out on that third round. He just kind of distant. And I think Johnson's awesome. I love his stash.
Oh, he's great.
And ultimately, I think that's why I kind of need to do like what sometimes I think when you were talking about how turning the audio off of the thing, we send all of our staff picks to everybody, so everybody sees who everybody's picking, and I think that influenced me a little bit because I had no idea who Gollum was.
Oh, okay.
And so part of me was like, I can go with Johnson.
I think he's a legit
when I looked
prospect.
at his numbers and I looked at everything, I'm like, shit, he was like undefeated or whatever. I was like, okay, he's a younger guy. Johnson's never did anything that's really like knocked me off my feet, But this, I think, was the perfect fight for him to show up and surprise people. But I went I picked Prazeres, I picked Shevchenko, and I picked Anders. Anders was another one that could have won it. I had it close. I did think that it came down in that last round.
I did too.
And that's what I was yelling at the screen.
Well, that's what
I was just like, Anders.
So you agree Machida won the fight, but
yeah. Just because of that last round.
I think Anders gave the fight away. And I don't mean to disrespect Eric Anders, but I'm saying I think he gave the fight. Here's the risk. So I went 4-2 on the night in my pick. Or no, 3-2 because we lost a main card fight. Obviously, the Chito Vera, Douglas Silva, Andrade fight got bumped up when we lost the Dotson Munoz fight. So we ended up only picking 5 out of the 6. I went 3-2.
I lost like 3-2.
I lost the Johnson Golem fight, which I do believe Golem should have won that fight. And I picked Anders over Machida. Yep. And I'm not disrespecting Machida, but I feel like Anders could have and should have. I still feel like I picked the right guy. I mean, can you say that? Like I got the wrong pick, but I picked the right guy because I feel like I picked the right guy. I feel like literally, if they ran that back tonight, I feel like Anders wins the fight.
He should have.
He was more athletic. He was winning. He just so complacent.
It seemed like he stayed way too respectful the whole fight. Like he was expecting that there was going to be some crazy head kick to the face, and he didn't want to be a highlight reel because it got to the point where he had Machida. If he would have just stayed busier that final 5th round, he would have won it.
It was right there.
Same thing with Gallman. If Gallman would have kept the leg kicks going, he would have beat Johnson. And he stopped, and I'm just like, what are you doing?
I agree.
You know, so
I feel like I should have gone 5-0. Gallman should have won, and Anders should have won.
Should have.
Bottom line.
But that's why we don't bet on this shit because
damn right.
That's the sport, man. Like, just when you think you know everything, and you're like, oh, this makes complete sense. This guy obviously is going to win. Machida, I mean.
God bless
and now you got people.
I
know it, and so do I. But all people are just like, oh, see, he's not done yet. I was like, he should have lost. You had a guy that was way too respectful. That
I agree.
He didn't even look like he was completely tired out. No. He just was gun shy towards the end, and I'm like, what is wrong? It's not that it's fatigue that's holding you back at this point.
No.
It's like he was treating it like it was still the first round, like Machida was as dangerous as he was in the first round, and he wasn't. I mean, Machida stayed busy. But it wasn't like he was hurting him.
I'm not saying Anders is a future world champion. I'm not saying that, but Anders should have won that fight.
Yeah.
Anders should have won that fight, and I think whether he'll admit it or not. I mean, we'll talk to him next time out.
Yeah.
Whether he'll admit it or not, I think in his head and his heart, he probably knows he could have won that fight, and he should have won that fight. He just, for whatever reason, didn't pull the trigger. And
I think that's the biggest thing he's going to learn from it. He's going to realize that he never really got hurt in that fight.
Right.
And when it came down to it, it was either doubting his own skills or putting too much credit to what he thought Lyoto was still going to be able to do. And I think that's probably going to change the way that he fights going forward because he's going to stop holding back. But it's one thing. I mean, like, it's Lyoto. If you're going to get knocked out, I'd rather get knocked out by Lyoto, going all in, get knocked out by him, than to lose this fight, learn that lesson, fight somebody that's not Lyoto, and then get knocked out.
What a sickening feeling. I mean, what you said is just dead on. He didn't even get hurt. No. What a sickening feeling to know that, like, you sliced that guy open, man. He had blood everywhere. You hurt him. You never,
that was
like,
the second or third round?
And like, you were fine.
Yeah.
And yet you lost the fight. That's I mean, gosh, that's gotta burn.
To know that you didn't pull the trigger and you still had the capability to do so.
It's gotta burn him. All right, so Machida calls out Bisping afterwards. I mean, is that
he's just done? He realized that he doesn't have many fights left.
And I agree, but I was gonna.
Why not get your money and do your thing?
I think that's the perfect fight, though, right?
It's a great fight.
I don't see Machida fighting anybody else ranked in that division, and I don't want Bisping fighting anybody else ranked in that division. So, is that not the perfect fight?
I think it's a good fight. I mean, it's a good fight of two big-name guys that, are ultimately nearing the end of their careers. Let them. If it's a fight that people are going to be interested in, people are going to want to. Is it pay-per-view worthy? It's certainly not main event worthy.
No.
It
could be main event worthy if there was a Fox Sports 1 card in Dublin at any point.
Yeah, but even then, I'm like.
No?
Dublin, I just don't think Dublin really cares for Bisping. I certainly don't think they care for
It's close to home.
Leo.
It's not home.
It's close to home.
It's close to home.
But I mean, like, I just don't see them going out of their way to be like, oh, we're totally pro Bisping. Everything else, I think they'd be like, yeah, he's good. He's somewhat around here, but throw an Irish guy up in there.
Yeah,
like,
but what's the Irish guy?
They would rather see a fucking Paddy Houlihan than fucking Bisping in the main event,
There is rumors and rumblings, we should say. It hasn't been reported, but there are rumblings of a return because we know that Bisping wants to fight at home. He wants to fight in the UK, but that London show is too quick. It's a month away. And for the record, I'm happy. I think that was too fast. I did not want to see him on that card. So there's rumblings of an Ireland card, in the late spring, early summer. I don't know. I thought that might be a good fit. I thought that might be the right spot.
I mean, it's definitely a good matchup. I mean, and it's certainly better than trying to throw it in the States because I just don't think.
What about maybe that Chile card that is official? Is that a better place for it?
Well, I mean, you probably get some maybe more people digging on Machida's side.
I was going to say, I mean, it doesn't necessarily make sense, like from a geographical perspective. You know what I mean? You got a Brazilian versus an Englishman in Chile, but at least, I mean, Chile, like these fans, they probably want to see, like they want to probably see those names they know.
No, I was going to say those are at least names
they want to
that would
see
help
like
carry it.
Yeah, like superstars that they've been watching on TV forever. So maybe that would be a good main event there.
I mean, you look at, I mean, if you have a medium tier, even if it's like a top 5 to like a top 8, that's not a card. That's not a fight you try to bring to Chile where they're just like, hey, it's our first time we're coming here. You know, let's do it. You would almost need names like Machida and Bisping. Ireland, I don't think you need them just because I think you can put even a somewhat decent grouping of level fighters, and one it's going to sell out locally, and I think people would still probably kick it because you know that I'm sure there'll be a McGregor sighting somewhere in the evening or whatever. But yeah, it makes more sense for like a Chile thing. But I mean, I do like the fight. I do like the fight because I do know that, or at least I do feel or believe that Bisping doesn't have many, and I don't think Machida has many left either. And you know, these guys have done a lot for the sport. I'm all about if they want to pick and choose their last little fights. I mean, I'm sure Machida wasn't like, oh, Eric Anders, that's the name for me. You know, you got to do what you got to do. But I mean, I just kind of like with, you know, here off to the side, I'm watching Roy Jones Jr. fight.
Right.
You know,
say,
and
that's
I
going
hate
on while we're doing this.
I hate to see these legends or these guys that have done so much in the sport just sort of like, you know, hanging around just to keep fighting, you know, and then they just with these mediocre fights, you know, because it gets to a certain point where I just feel bad watching them. I'd rather just not that I ever want a guy to not be able to fight and do their career or whatever, but I don't know. It just, if it's not worth something or something sort of memorable, don't make these guys do it. You know, like almost help them. You know, help them keep their legend, their history. Help them,
their legacy.
You know,
I agree.
Yeah, the legacy. Help them get a last couple good fights and then get out. Like, don't make them like toil around and do whatever. So, if he's calling out Bisping, to me, that's a call of saying like, you know, give me one last good one. Because after Bisping, I mean, like, he's not ranked. I mean, like, he's going to try to make another run.
It could be his retirement. It could be a double retirement fight.
Yeah, which makes more sense because I just don't see Machida making a run to the top again.
Nah, me neither. All right, well, let's talk about the co-main event because I think that's the one that everybody is still talking about. In fact, it's funny. Evie from Kambache actually came by my house the other day, and I taped a quick segment with her. I mean, everybody's talking about this. Valentina Shevchenko just absolutely dominating Priscilla Cachoeira. And everybody's still debating, you know, and there's so much discussion about this fight in so many different reasons. And I've had a chance to talk with some people behind the scenes, but I'm kind of curious what you think and where your head's at on this thing because everybody's trying to place blame, right? Like, first of all, should the fight have even been made? You know, should the fight have even been made? I mean, it looked like a mismatch in talent. Is it disrespectful that this thing even happened, or is it wrong that this even happened? Now, secondly, did Mario Yamasaki, did he perform poorly? Should he have stepped in? Should he have done something? Thirdly, did the corner perform poorly? Should they have done something? So I've got a lot of thoughts on this, but I always love hearing from you, and I think people love hearing from you, Cold Coffee. I think they like your opinion better than mine. You're sometimes more eloquent than I am. So
I don't know about that.
What was your thoughts on this whole fight?
I did well. I mean, she was clearly just outclassed, outgunned. I mean, she was the bigger girl. She looked every bit the part. She looked like she could do some damage. She looked like a huge girl for that division. I was really surprised. But I'm on the side that the fight could have been stopped before that. There was a point where to me it just didn't seem like it was intelligent defense, but also even what she was doing, whether it maybe could be classified as intelligent defense, it wasn't doing anything to stem the flow of where the fight was going. You know, just Valentina was punishing her, and she had no answer for anything. She was never able to really ever improve her position in any position. All she was doing was just weathering the storm, and she was being very tough. And then you have a corner that knows how tough her opponent is. They're like, all right, she's taking worse beatings to this. Yeah, she's bleeding, but she's not. She's still able to see. She's still able to get in there, and she's able to take her knocks. But that's all she was doing, was just taking knocks. She wasn't doing anything to better her case. She wasn't causing any damage to Valentina. She had no answer for anything. It was like what was going on with Francis and Stipe. Stipe just had his way, and Francis had no answer, except in this case, there was lots of physical damage that was happening at the same time. She was split open, she was getting banged up, and she had no answer for it. And I think there was a point where, even though, Mario was trying to say I was letting her be a warrior, it's a difference between letting somebody be a warrior and then letting somebody just show how many beatings and how tough you are and how much damage you could take. I mean, if Darren Elkins had his way, Darren he would say, bust my lip and bust my eye up, and then I'm going to get started on you. Because he could take it, and then he's still got a lot to give. I think it was the same situation where she's super tough. She could take a lot of damage. She was still able – could she have taken more punches and all that other stuff? Yes, but it had gotten to a point long before that she was not defending herself in a manner. She was not bettering herself in any place to where it wasn't a competitive fight. It stopped being a competitive fight long before the stoppage.
So here's where I stand, and you've said a couple of really smart things there. Here's where I stand. First of all, a lot of people said, look, this was irresponsible of the matchmakers to even make this. I disagree with that. First of all, and again, this goes, I guess this includes a little bit of behind-the-scenes information or whatever, but the bottom line is nobody wanted to fight Valentina Shevchenko.
Sure.
And understandably so. I mean, that division is still being figured out right now, right? So there's no, there's no title fight on the line. There's no advantage to fighting Valentina Shevchenko. So literally nobody wanted to fight her. Priscilla Cachoeira steps up. She has an undefeated record. She's tough. She's. I mean.
And if everybody remembers that stands for waterfall.
The waterfalls. I agree. So to me, I was okay with the matchup, and I think what's really frustrating is seeing the people post-fight that are like, "Oh my God, how did they ever even make this fight?" Because I think we all knew. I mean, listen, last week we talked about it. I think as a staff, we were 14-0 on the side of Valentina Shevchenko. I mean, I think we all knew who was the likely winner.
Yeah.
But I'll be honest with you right now. Like, Valentina Shevchenko versus Nico Montano, I bet our staff goes 14-0 on Valentina Shevchenko. No disrespect to Nico Montano.
Oh, yeah.
I bet we go 14-0. Does that mean the fight shouldn't be made? Of course it doesn't mean the fight shouldn't be made. I mean, it's a legitimate fight. But, I mean, so that part bugged me a little bit. And I know behind the scenes it kind of bugged some people there as well at the UFC. They were like, come on, man. We trust me. We did the best we could. I know people are talking shit, but we did the best we could. So I don't hate that the fight was made.
Yeah, it's weird because looking at the UFC stats, Cachoeira is only listed as 5'7". Valentina's 5'5". She looked a hell of a lot bigger than 2 inches. And oddly enough, Shevchenko is listed as a 67-inch reach, and Cachoeira is 65-inch. So she's the taller girl, but actually a shorter reach, which is crazy. But she looked a hell of a lot bigger than just a 2-inch difference.
I think so.
But I mean,
so all right. So,
but Nico. Speaking of Nico, and then Nico, you saw she did not look great against Roxy. For people to try to think that Roxy and Valentina are on the same level, I love Roxy to death, but that's night and day. And Nico did not have an easy night.
No disrespect to Nico Montano, but I think Nico Montano suffers the same fate. Valentina Shevchenko's on the – I mean, you could argue she's the 135-pound champ. Some people think she beat Amanda Nunes.
Right.
She is crisp. All right, so –
yeah.
All right, so
and she says she doesn't struggle much to get down there. She says she walks around 135.
Oh, exactly.
So that's a cut to the 125. That's just a slight cut for her.
So
that's
listen,
crazy.
I don't hate that the fight was made. All right, but here's the thing. So, all right, let's talk about Yamasaki. Because the bottom line is, all right, so I don't hate that the matchmaking was made. Let's talk about the refereeing. Or let's talk about the corner first, I guess. People are saying, should the corner stop the fight? And I believe that probably the corner could have and should have stopped the fight. And it is a little bit distressing knowing that, she does have a torn ACL. She had surgery on her knee. She goes back to the corner after the first round. She says, my knee hurts. And the corner's like, don't worry about your knee. Don't worry about your knee.
Yeah.
Like, let's move on.
Is that as much as she said? Or is that my knee hurts?
Yeah, that's it. That's all she said. She didn't say, I'm pretty sure I tore my ligament or whatever. You know what I mean? It's like my knee hurts.
The thing about Paige went back and said, I just broke my hand.
And they were like, let's go. I broke my arm. Not even my hand, my arm.
Yeah, which sounds worse?
Exactly.
So
I don't want to falter corner. and this is what I said actually to Kombache when Evie came by. I was like, listen, am I saying that the corner could have stopped the fight? Yeah, absolutely.
Sure.
But you know what? To be honest with you, that's not the culture of our sport. Now,
should the culture – especially not Brazilians, which are super, super tough.
And should the culture change? Maybe. I mean, maybe the culture should change a little bit, but it's not the culture. So I see a lot of people blaming her corner. Come on, man. Your girl is making her UFC debut. Yes, you know she's overmatched, but she's going in there. She's showing her heart. She's showing who she is. You don't want to take that away from her, and I get it. I mean, to be honest, would I have liked to see the corner stop it? Oh, yeah, cool. It would have been great, but you can't blame it. That's not the culture of our sport. Yeah. Now, if you want to have a bigger argument, should the culture change? Should people be more willing to throw the towel? That I'm willing to talk about. Yeah. But I feel that people that are hating on her corner and that are blaming her corner shouldn't, because let's be honest, that just doesn't happen.
Yeah. What's weird, and this brings up a conversation the other day when I was with Angelo Reyes, and he was talking about boxing. If there's a coach in boxing, the fighters, say a particular coach, and he has like maybe one or two boxers under his tutelage. Like, you have these MMA gyms, and say, like, and he used Jackson, and say Jackson MMA as one of the references. That gym lost maybe a handful of fights this year. Multiple.
They've been struggling. They've had a bad run.
Boxing, a lot of times, you could have a coach, his fighter loses once, and, like, people are calling for the coach's head. They're like, all right, something's changed, something's wrong, we got to get rid of the coach. Whereas the culture in MMA, it seems like with the gyms are like, okay, well, we take a loss, that sucks. We didn't get it, all right, well, we'll go back to the drawing board. Brazil, and I think a lot of these ones right here, you don't want to be that corner that, because say if you take that fight, I don't think they want to embrace the fact of like, okay, well, we're just going to take the loss. We'll get back at it. We'll get back at it. In the moment of the battle when that's happening, that corner's like, you're tougher than this. You got this. And if the fighter's like, I can continue,
that's right.
You push them forward. You don't want to just immediately say, okay, well, let's just take our loss. But I think that part does exist. So, I mean, if we try to tell the culture, like, hey, we need to be better, throw the towel in sooner for your fighter, I think that's why I can see these boxing people like, I can't believe you MMA guys are just ready to quit, or like you take losing so much better than we take on the boxing side. So here we are sort of saying like, okay, you need to be willing to take those losses more when it's for the safety of your fighter. But also I can see where like some of the people on the outside and some of these people in these culture, like I'm not going to be that guy that just wants to quit like of a corner, especially in like Brazil. Because you might think, I'm not going to be the guy that throws it in. I might never get that call to work that, thing. Right. I'm just here to help push the fighter forward. It'd be one thing to say if it's like Stephen Thompson or someone where it's his dad.
Right.
His dad like, I'm going to throw in the towel. It's not like you're going to fire your dad.
Right.
But like corners, I think, are probably afraid of that possibility as well.
But here's what I think, too, and it's funny. I don't know why I haven't thought about this before. It's probably because I didn't have enough frosty beverages and we weren't talking. But the other thing, too, is this. Like, in boxing, by the time you're ready to throw in the towel, you've had 8 to 10 conversations with your guy. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like if we're talking about the later rounds, right?
Oh, true.
You know what I mean? Whereas in MMA, you've had one conversation. Like, yes, she came back and she was a little bit shell-shocked. Priscilla Cachoeira is making her UFC debut. She's facing one of the best pound-for-pound fighters on the planet. She gets taken down right away. She's a little bit shell-shocked. She comes back to the corner and she's like, my knee, it hurts. I'm out. You know what I mean? And you as a coach, you're like, don't worry about your knee. Don't worry about your knee. Keep doing this. Let's keep doing what we're doing. Blah 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 blah. Yeah. Whereas if it was a boxing match, if she came back after round 1, she's like, my knee, and then after round 2, hey, my knee still killed me. Round 3, I can't even walk. You know what I mean? Like now you're like, okay, I get it. You're not freaking out.
Now you garnered enough information.
I've had multiple conversations with you. Yeah. I've had, you know what I mean? You're not having a moment where because I think that's what happens in the corner with MMA is I think the corner is trying to get them through. I mean, God, who was it? Was it George St. Pierre that was like, my groin is torn, and I think Greg Jackson was like, hit him with your groin or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, obviously that's stupid, but that what he's trying to say is like, just get past that. Like, I think the corner is like, no, don't get out. I know you're facing the worst adversity you've ever faced in the world, but come on, man, you can do this. You can do this. And in MMA, you're trying to get that person. And that was the first 60-second conversation they had. Whereas in boxing, by round 10, round 11, you're like, right, all right, dude, I got it. Like, we've tried. We know you're in the moment. We know you've done every adjustment you can make. Like, you just have no chance right now. Like, let's just throw in the towel.
I think the only way that you could probably fix some of that is by changing an aspect of what referees can do. And, I mean, granted, it would kill the flow and it would kill momentum. But if referees had the power
Like
to call like a medical timeout
out to the mound,
or just
like
call a medical timeout. Like if they catch wind, if they hear something, if they hear somebody say that, so they can keep eye. Like I mean, these refs a lot of times go by the corners. I'm sure they're hearing this shit,
of course,
but they're not
Definitely
stopping. They're just letting it go. But if they had the possibility, because now if they stop a fight, if they see something, there are no timeouts. If they if they call a time to see something, usually that's the end to the fight at that point. But I think if referees had a point where if they could call their own timeout for a medical check or give that moment to where they could say, all right, time, I want a medical check, bring a doctor in and allow the corner to come pay attention to the discussion, hear the talks that happen so that they're better informed. So say if it's a doctor coming and asking, is your knee all right? Are you good, whatever, and to hear the fighter say whatever, but also to maybe make that thing, but to not penalizing these fighters to possibly have those moments where they can do that sort of thing. Because I think now it's like the only time that we ever hear that sort of thing, and even then, there's no ramification. A fighter can say, hey, my hand's busted, my hand's, broken, and I'm guaranteed that the referees hear that sort of thing. And nobody wants to, everybody, it's like that mentality. We want to see the fight. We want to see it go on. Right. Oh, push through, push the hardness, show us you're a warrior. But I think if a ref had a possibility and he can hear those sort of things and know it, if that round starts going and you're starting to see it happen, call a timeout, allow the doctor to come in, allow the fighter to kind of explore and have a moment to say, all right, do I want to keep continuing? Allow the corner to come, interact and say, are you good? You good? Do you want to keep going? And give that moment. And then if everybody, we're good? All right, let's go back into it. Yes, does it kill the momentum? But don't penalize them for putting another maybe safety check if there is something that's amiss. If something is off.
All right, so let's talk about Yanagisaki's performance, because I mean, you've seen Dana's comments. Dana's like, never let this moron referee again. And
there's no fucking real saying.
Well, I know it's tough because, look, I mean, look at here. Look at Mazzagatti. Like, we live in Nevada. Mazzagatti, man, he doesn't referee anything anymore. He's trying to be a timekeeper now, I believe, is what he's trying to do. I mean, and I'm not trying to defend Mazzagatti, but it's just weird when you're like, don't ever let – he's had some good performances as well. Did he drop the ball here? Maybe. So let me ask you. All right, so let me I'll start. With Mario Yamasaki, I don't think he's a horrible referee. I don't think he has no business, refereeing. But I will say this. I do think he dropped the ball here. I think that the fight should have been stopped earlier than it was, I should say. I'm kind of okay with it in the first round. And here's the thing.
Yeah.
Here's what's weird, right? So the fight starts, and Shevchenko comes out, and she rocks her early on, right? She rocks Cachoeira early on, but then she takes the fight to the ground. She gets on top. She has a dominant position. She's doing damage, but it's not concussive damage. Like, it's easier to see when you're talking about when you're talking about knockdowns. Like, if you see somebody knocked down 3 times, 4 times, 5 times, that's easy as a referee to be like, oh, my God, I got to stop this. When somebody's already laying on the ground and they're just getting punched a little bit, but they're moving, they're getting punched. Like, I'm okay with the fact that this fight didn't stop in the first round, even though it was an incredibly dominant first round. I'm okay with that. But I think, to me, what referees need to do, and maybe I'm wrong here, and hopefully I can speak to Mark Goddard soon or whatever. I mean, a guy that I really trust. But to me, excuse me, when round 2 gets into the exact same position as round 1, and you've already seen that Cachoeira has no ability to get off of her back.
Right.
And you said it. You said, couldn't improve position. No answer. You said it. When that happens, I think you have to have a much shorter leash. At that point, you're like, dude, I already gave you like 3 minutes to get out of this position, and you didn't.
Right.
Now we're in round 2, and you're on your back again, and you're taking, punches. Maybe they're not knockout punches, but it's enough. To me, like, you have to have a shorter leash when you've already seen that position. Like, had round 2 played out on the feet, maybe you give her a longer leash. You know what I mean? Like, she was on her back in round 1, but now she's doing better in round 2. But when it goes into the exact same position and you've already seen you have no answer for that, at that point, you got to call it.
You got to. I mean, you got to be smarter for the fighters. I mean, as much as the refs are there to make sure that rules are followed, they are there for the fighter safety. And if a fighter is getting right back to the same thing where all she's doing is taking punishment,
right,
then at that point, you're just we know these fighters are tough. We're knowing whatever. You got to be able to to just stop it when you realize that nothing's happening. I mean, granted, if she's taking no damage and she doesn't improve her position, I mean, there's some fighters that seem to spend time on their back. Some people welcome it. You see guys trying to pull guard immediately. They drop down, they're trying to pull. They want to do that. But there's a difference when they're in guard, but they're only taking damage and they're not doing anything to get out of it. At some point, you got to realize that, all right, this fighter is being just swamped, is out of their league, and do a better job. And at that point, he did it. He didn't realize that she was completely outclassed, but she was tougher than what she was. She had more toughness than she had skills at that point. I mean, but she was undefeated. She had a lot of, I hate to think that, I know you even hear when Trig recently was on radio, said he would have these conversations and in the back, and I guarantee all these fighters do it. They're like, hey, if I'm in a position, let me go. Let me go. I'll get through it. Let me go. But he said, as soon as I walk out of the room, I forget everything that was said. And I wonder if some of those things, Mario's, being in Brazil and all that stuff, that's a big part of his life. I don't know how to heart he takes those discussions and how much he actually, his little heart, man. He's like, I'm taking this shit to heart right here. I'm wearing it on my chest. That he doesn't realize that, because maybe he's afraid of the conversation he's going to have afterwards when they're like, bro, you stopped it too early. Where now he's like, oh, I let it go. You see, I let it go, But I don't know. It should have been stopped earlier. But
I agree. All right, enough about Brazil.
Yeah, because I got some other stuff I was going to throw your way too.
What you got?
This is just about Bellator. It just made me think, because I think a lot with this fight, a lot of people, and this brought up in the conversation when I was with Angelo. Angelo was showing me a little boxing stuff, but I was there covering Anna, doing a little thing. But Anna brought up the point, and we were talking about the fight. Anna Hulaton, who has a fight coming up February 16th. She's on she's still in the main card, but she's there fighting with Roy and all those guys. Fighting Heather Hardy. That should be a good one.
They're gonna do MMA and boxing.
Yeah.
I think that's cool.
I think it's really, really,
they're gonna
really
do both.
cool.
It's fun that the Bellator is willing to sign this up.
That's what and she is so excited about the fact that, she's gonna have they're both gonna have their boxing promoters there at the fight watching, because depending on how that fight comes out, how injured they are or aren't, can kind of really push back the boxing thing. Yep. But when we were talking about the stoppage, part of it that she brought up was the fact of, were people bitching about it because it was women, And I said, no, even if this was two dudes and that same shit that was going on, people would have been in an uproar about it. But not to talk about that, I don't want to take it too far by that, but my discussion on that was Bellator. And on this fight with her and Heather, she was like, yeah, it's the women's flyweight feature fight. I said, what do you mean women's flyweight feature fight? They're not just calling it like a flyweight feature fight? She's like, no, it's called the women's. I was like, well, does that upset you that they have to call it the women's flyweight feature fight, not that it's just a women's fight? And she's like, it kind of does.
Or it's a flyweight fight.
Yeah, there's a flyweight. But the fact that they call it, even on their site, the women's flyweight feature fight.
Right.
Almost like they're saying, hey, look at this feature. Women. We got women fighting here, instead of just saying a women's flyweight fight.
What did she say? Because this is an interesting discussion, because I don't know. All right, now maybe this is too inside, whatever, but the UFC has gotten away from this. So I believe, I could be wrong. I didn't know we were going to talk about this, or I would have researched it more. But I believe that, like, for instance, Bruce Buffer, when it's a women's bantamweight title fight, no longer says it's for the women's bantamweight title. It's just the bantamweight title fight of the world, because you should. We've talked about this internally in MMA Junkie, because we still label things as the women's. Like, for instance, is that a UFC bantamweight or is that a UFC women's bantamweight?
Right, and part of that was like because of the discussion. You didn't want dumbasses out there saying, well, if they're both bantamweights, why isn't she fighting that dude? Like, why are they on the same listing? So that part of that was just for category listings and keeping things separate. But the fact that they're on the main card, and the fact that it struck me when I was like, why are they just calling the women's flyweight feature fight? Why aren't they just calling a flyweight feature fight? She was like, I guess I kind of get it why they're doing it. She's like, but yeah, it kind of bugs me a little bit that they because it felt to her, and maybe I was skewing the way the direction that was going. I was like, well, does that upset you? Because it seemed to me like that's kind of thrown out like you guys are still a sideshow. like, oh, hey, look, women. It's a women's feature fight. I'm like, I don't think there's any other women on the card, so why are you going to call it like the women's feature fight?
Right.
You know, I mean, I don't know, but it was just interesting. So I was like, oh man, we got to talk to our Bellator boys, and, you know, and just be like, hey, why y'all going to still try to throw it out as like the women's flyweight feature fight, and just call it its main card at that point. Just call it a feature fight.
I like
or
it.
Flyweight feature fight. But
perfect segue, because I should just say this week, you know, throughout the MMA Road Show, I've always said I'm happy to see Cold Coffee grow and just become more.
Oh, yeah, I'm getting very fat as this podcast has grown. I'm probably growing 20 or 30 pounds.
Grow. We've all been physically growing, unfortunately. I meant professionally growing. Professionally growing. What I'm saying is, you know, when we started, I mean, if you would go back and listen to the MMA Road Show episode 1, you know, it would be me and you sitting on a patio in Florida, and you were a videographer at that point. And now 150 episodes. Oh my God, mosquitoes are tearing us up. I can actually just itch my legs right now thinking about it. But 150 episodes later, so we're getting close to 3 years, bro. We're getting close to 3 years that you and I have been
crazy?
Doing this podcast together, and of course traveling the world together, covering the sport of MMA. But you have grown so much from just a videographer to now. I mean, again, in an interview. I mean, you, at this point, bro, you can handle any aspect of this. So I was so happy to see this week you reached out, even though we're in town this week. We're not traveling. We're both here. But you reached out, and you set up a couple interviews. I mean, you went out. You reached out to Anna Houlihan, and you went and talked to her. And you reached out to Roy Nelson as well.
Big Country.
And you talked to Big Country. You went to the Mayweather gym. And I don't know.
Super sweaty.
Well, I was going to say. I think what we should do is I think we should play the interview of you and Roy Nelson, because I think that's legit. You arranged this. You set this up.
It's a little bit of cut down. It was like a little bit rambling. It was like about 15 minutes.
All right,
so this will be about 8 minutes of it.
Set the scene. How did this all come together?
Well, it was funny because, you know, I reached out to Roy, and it's odd enough because I felt like those damn radio guys must have been on the same wavelength, because I set up the interview with Roy Nelson, and then like the next day, like Junkie Radio's like, oh, we got Roy Nelson. I'm like, fuck, because I hate it when we double dip.
Right.
Like we have too much shit, you know, because that happened with Anna as well. You know, Anna was on the radio, and then we had it, which is great because, you know, we love seeing her on camera or whatever. But so I reached out to Roy and sent a text to, I think it's Jesse's number, who I have, his wife / manager. I was like, hey, you know, I know Roy's getting ready to go, you know, for the fight, but if there's a chance, I'd love to get a little interview, maybe get some training, B-roll, whatever, if you guys got another day here. And they hit back, and they're like, okay, well, how about Mayweather Gym? And so I was like, all right, great. You know, and they're like, all right, well, we'll do like 1:30. And this is normally the time where it's either just like the pros and some of the invites. So it's not like the normal day. So I was like, all right, well, you know, make sure you meet me there. Bring me in, because I don't want to just come in with gear and have all these cats be like, who the fuck are you, you know? But lo and behold, when I got there, it was like the busiest I have ever seen it.
Really?
There was like a ton of family members, but there were a ton of other boxers there. So I don't know if there were some other fight stuff that was going on.
Was Mayweather there getting ready for McGregor?
Mayweather was
training.
Mayweather there, but House was there. Stitch was there off to the side. So I'm like, so I think there were some other fighters that had something coming up. So, I mean, I was like, because they don't just hang out at the Mayweather gym.
Exactly.
But Roy was there. Roy had already kind of got a workout in. So I go up to Roy and was like, you know, hey, this is what I'm hoping for. Want to get some B-roll, want to get an interview. You know, we should interview after it. And he's like, all right, whatever you need. So he gets back in, and I got him to do some of the boxing and stuff. And then we just kind of did a little quick interview in the middle of the room while he was still kind of working with different people. But it was like a different trainer than I'd seen him use before. So it was a different boxing coach and different other stuff. So I'm not sure if there's been different, you know, changes. But he didn't have some of the same personnel that I remember seeing him with before. But it was interesting. I mean, like, it was a full packed house, but it was hot as all get out in there. And it literally had that gym boxing smell. So, one, I'm sweating just like a wreck in there getting the interview, shooting with him. I'm just dripping down. I didn't even train, but I felt like I had trained. But Roy was awesome, dude. He got into the ring. He hit mitts for me. And then he's like, are you good? I was like, yeah, bro, I can make it work. That's enough for me. He's like, I go over and hit the heavy bag for you if you want to. I was like, dude, if you want to go hit the heavy bag, let's go hit the heavy bag. So he went over the heavy bag and did it for like maybe about a minute. But he he totally royed out in it, and he's like, yeah, and he's making all this noise, and I can see his boxing coach off the side kind of laughing and looking, because I could tell that there were probably other boxers like, what is going on over there? But Roy's just sounding, he's like, and Roy being Roy, and Roy, oddly enough, if people didn't know, like Roy loves like the whole video side of things. He's very into shooting videos, doing all this stuff. He likes movies, all that stuff. So when I was first shooting them and hitting mitts, he's like, "You shooting in 60 frames?" I was like, "Oh, why? Because you think I'm gonna take it and slow it down?" I was like, "I love that you just asked me how my frame rate was that I was shooting." I was like, "No, I'm shooting 24 frames, but I might switch to some 60."
So he has a movie sponsorship with what's the one at
Galaxy?
No, not Galaxy. The one at Town Center. It's AMC? A big change. AMC.
Yeah.
So I saw Jumanji, courtesy of Roy Nelson.
I've seen some movies.
Courtesy of Roy Nelson.
Yep.
And it ran into Timothy Johnson there with his beautiful stash, just chilling, hanging out.
Yeah, he does, and it's just like I don't know how often he does it, but yeah, Roy's got a movie club that he literally, you can go and you can sign up for his movie listings. He'll give you invites to go to the movies. He just goes. And
I didn't know he was like a video guy, too.
But no,
I just thought he had like a movie.
He likes videos, so he literally shoots his own videos a lot of times, and he does a lot of his own stuff at his own house. So he's all about it. He's all about shooting the videos. So he's asked me in the past, he's asked me about different gear, cameras and stuff that I use and all that other kind of stuff.
That's crazy.
Yeah, so it was funny. So as we're like, I was shooting the thing, he's like asking me what my frame rates was that I was shooting the videos and stuff. So he was selling it, but it was great. So we ended up shooting the videos. We shot the interviews. He was, it was sweaty as all get out, but it was literally, it was like 30 minutes in and out. But he was the consummate professional when it came to, he's like, I want to do this. He's like, what do you need? Let's do it, But he was like, it is funny because Jesse, his wife, managed off the side, like, make sure he plugs his sponsors, and he's like trying to prep Roy at the beginning. She's like, Roy, don't forget your sponsors. Don't forget your sponsors.
She asked me in L.A. to bring up because he signed with Monster now. So she asked me in L.A. She's like, will you bring up Monster? I'm like, hey, so I hear you're part of Monster now. He's like, yep. And I'm like, man, come on now.
You got to sell it better than that. Like he actually, it's funny because at one point he was talking, because one of his is like the SOBA, I guess, which they it's like they create a drug for when people are coming off of like drugs in your system or something, or it's like a rehab thing or something. Yeah. I'm not even quite sure. I didn't look it up, but he kept throwing it out when he was talking about guys that were trying to get clean. He's like, if so-and-so is trying to get clean, I got this SOBA or whatever, like this sponsor or something. He kept throwing it out there. But at one point when he was talking about the walkouts, he's like, yeah, if I want to walk out and have Rico's nachos, if I want to walk out and have a Monster drink, I was like, I didn't see her off to the side, but I was like, I bet Jesse's just check marking. Yeah. She's check marking on the pad, like he's going through his sponsors and stuff. But no, it was great. It was wonderful. I was glad I was able to get the thing set up with Anna. But Roy's always been real good, and I think part of that relationship came from the time that we spent with the UFC when I worked with the UFC. Yeah. Like even when he was a guest fighter in Japan, we went to one of the Air Force bases. Him and Carlos Condit. We got to spend time with the troops and stuff. So a lot of those times, he's always been one of my favorite fighters that has always just been real. And I remember even when he was having discussions with the UFC and they weren't on the best of terms. And I remember at one point while I was the employee just trying to I wanted him to like follow the rules because I didn't want him to like be gone. Yeah. But I remember thinking like, I understand why this guy is sort of talking back to the UFC, and you see a lot more of that now. So, as much as, we do see these fighters, they do need to do what they need to do to stay in the good graces. I do respect when the fighters do stand up for themselves when they realize that it might blacklist them. It might make them not be, Dana's favorite fighter or whatever. And Roy was always one of those ones that was always true to himself, whether a lot of times in his interviews he's always funny sometimes to the point of where he never really answers your question. He just kind of stays in the funny mode. You just kind of take what you get, but he was in good spirits. So
all right, well, let's listen to Cold Coffee going out on his own, Floyd Mayweather's gym. This is what's up. Cold Coffee speaking to Big Country Roy Nelson. We're going to re-up on some frosty beverages, and you can listen to this. It's amazing. Look at this dude just spreading his wings.
How is life at Bellator, just the organization, the fact that you could bring sponsors back in? Just tell me a little bit about, how happy you are over there at Bellator right now.
Yeah, no, the one thing about Bellator is it's just I guess they're revamping, they're bringing love back to MMA. That's probably the best way I can describe it, is where the fans start loving MMA again, because like there's a point where MMA is kind of, I don't want to say took a downturn, but kind of like took a little frozen, and then I think Scott bringing back the Grand Prix, it just brings, more attention back to MMA and why fans fell in love with MMA in the first place.
It seems that you're very, very excited about the Grand Prix. Is it the format? Is it, just the guarantee of a title shot at the end? What is it about the Grand Prix that you really, really enjoy?
The one thing I love about the Grand Prix, it allows fans to follow MMA. It makes it simple. It's just like people that don't watch college basketball, when March comes, they watch college basketball because they're like, oh, that's the guy, the 64 team. I don't even know anything about it, but I want that team to win because it's the Cinderella story. Or like in our case, I want that old guy to win because he's the oldest guy in the tournament. The one thing about the Grand Prix, it's not really knowing the opponents. It's knowing that if I win 3 fights, I'll be champion. Plain and simple. It doesn't matter who's in who's in your way, your best friend, your girlfriend, whatever. 3 fights, you're going to be the champ. Because I've been in other organizations where I've won 3 in a row, and then every time it's always, oh, you just win that next one, you win that next one. I mean, I think it went on like that for Junior Dos Santos after he cleared out the whole heavyweight division pretty much.
Well, since this is sort of spread out, though, does the fact that, if injuries do come in place and there's no set date on the semifinals and the finals, was the initial hope that this thing would play out by the end of the year? I mean, is it a little bothersome that this might not even be settled this year, that it could possibly go into next year? I mean, is there any little worry about that, or is it you still just focus on what's immediately ahead of you?
The way I look at it is I know what my contract says, and I know because I'm one of those busybodies. I like to fight a lot, so I like to try to get 3 fights in a year. So as long as I get 3 fights in a year, I'm good.
How important is it to you that you can stay busy, that you can stay active, that you can stay out there in the public eye?
For me, I just like to be busy because I just like what I do. I like to put on the show for the fans, and the difference is once you become champion, everybody else just kind of goes, oh, my toe hurts, my pinky hurts. It's like I just like to fight. I mean, it's just, you go out there, you're going to win some, lose some, but as long as you're putting on a show for the fans, you're always going to people are going to love you.
I mean, is this a different opponent than who you faced the first time? I mean, since time has passed, I mean, are you a different opponent for him? Kind of speak to him where he's maybe grown since the last time you've seen him, and where is he still really a problem that you have to deal with?
I think with Matt's just an athletic guy. He's been, strong, explosive, and I think every fight that he's got better and better. And I think I'm going to get the best Matt out there. I think that's the best Matt that I'll possibly see is on February 16th. But at the end of the day, I'm the better fighter.
So does this feel like a typical rematch, or does the fact that it's this tournament setting and going for this longer goal of the title, does it make this fight feel different than a typical rematch?
I don't know. I've never had a rematch because every time I've ever had try to get a rematch, everybody else has got to duck me. So I guess I have to do the rematches the other way. So if I beat you, then I give you a rematch.
Mitrione is going in as a slight favorite over top. Do those sort of things play into either you, or do you think most fighters pay attention to that sort of stuff, or is that just more for the fans, more for the media? I mean, and does that maybe push you forward a little bit, coming in knowing that you're already the underdog?
You know what? I think the bookies don't really know MMA that much. Usually, I think what they do is they go to MMA Junkie or USA Today and look at their rankings and see that like 4 or 5 of the people in the top 10 are drug guys that they have ranked. So I think they're like, dude, we got to go with the drug guy. So I think that's how they do the bookies.
There's another fellow Las Vegan, Frank Mir.
Well, actually, that's one fight I would actually like to have, because that would be one rematch that would be forced upon them versus going, you can't duck this one. If you want to get the belt, you got to go through me. So I like that one.
And speaking on Mir, or at least his opponent, Fedor, that he's going against, a guy like that, should you guys meet up in the final, since he's opposite on the opposite side of the bracket, would a win like that be extra special, or would just winning the title be enough for you?
I think.
And is it a fight maybe that you've thought about it at some point?
No, I definitely would. Anytime you could fight Fedor, because that's like one of those like bucket list type fights. But like, Frank has to get past Fedor. Fedor has to get past Frank. But like one of my sponsors, Soba, it's a drug rehab. So if anybody needs to get off that, so if Frank needs it, I'm more than offered to offer that to him.
Over on the UFC side, we have Daniel Cormier fighting Stipe Miocic, both guys that you actually fought back-to-back. What are your thoughts on that fight? And when you see that playing out, how do you see that fight playing out?
You know what? That's one fight I would love to have back with Stipe because I had a week's notice for that fight. Definitely would love that fight. Stefan Struve knocked him out. So I guess Stefan Struve's the baddest man on the planet. No, I think I actually have Daniel, winning that fight over Stipe, especially this far out because he actually has a camp. I'm just going off of my experience with fights. I fought Daniel with a camp, and then I fought Stipe without a camp, and then I judged it against that, and I go Daniel will probably win.
So you're picking Daniel hands down.
Yeah, Daniel hands down.
One of the fun things about Bellator, besides being able to have all the great sponsors, is that they allow you to have fun with the walkouts.
Yeah, no, I think definitely like with Bellator is trying to bring the Pride show back, where it definitely we're in the entertainment business, and then allows me to showcase different sponsors. You get to walk out with cool themes. If I wanted to walk out with like a honky tonk band, I'd be able to come out with a honky tonk band. If I can come out with hold Monster Energy drink, then I'm gonna hold out Monster Energy drink. If I come out with freaking me eat nachos, from Rico's, it's. I think it's freaking awesome, and we can't do the. I guess I can't come out with heroin and do like my Soba rehab, but because that would get me in trouble. But definitely like
maybe some barbecue from Rolling Smoke or something.
Doing Rolling Smoke. We can do copper gel, because I got aches and pains because I'm old. There's lots of different things that I like about the walkout. Weird Al was basically so when you saw me fight on Saturday, you had a water cooler moment on Monday, and you'd be like, dude, did you see that fight? And then be like, no, but did you know he came out to Weird Al? And then they'd still be talking about it. And then it worked until the UFC canceled where I couldn't come out to Weird Al.
How important is it to give a lasting memory to your fans? And is that something that's very important for you outside of just getting a W?
No, it's always getting the W. That's the first and foremost, especially in the Grand Prix. It is about the W because that's how you get to the belt. But at the end of the day, my thing is I try to grow my demographic and my fan base to get bigger and bigger so that when I do get to the championship, I got more fans to cheer for.
Talk about you got this movie club going on. You got these tour things going on. How is that all going? And is that something that you really enjoy doing to kind of maybe, I guess, keep you leveled outside of the fight game?
Yeah, no, the one thing that I guess MMA and business is kind of showing me is just the different avenues. And I've met some great people in my sport, be able to travel the world. But at the end of the day, I could do stuff with my kid. That's why, I love food, so that's why we did hot car tours. That was one of the fun things. Then I love doing movies. I love being in movies. I love making movies. I love watching movies. So it just was kind of all the perfect fit. Food, movies, little go-kart, scooters, and then things I can do with my kid.
I know you've played this fight out in your head. How do you see you get your arm raised on February 16th?
Easy. Whoever the ref is, he's going to raise it for me February 16th.
I appreciate the time.
Welcome back to the MMA Road Show. That was Cold Coffee doing his thing, interviewing Roy Nelson. Look at
Cold
this
Coffee,
guy.
sweaty conversations.
I'm telling you, man, you're not even need me anymore, man. This thing's gonna be.
I don't know about that.
That's what's up. All right, listen. I should say, by the way, if you like what you listen to, do us a favor. Log into iTunes, rate us, review us. Give us 5 stars if you can. Give us some feedback if you can. Always love that. You can give feedback like I'm not gonna say my man, but he's Tom Bay 13. Now he only gave us 3 stars. He only gives 3 stars. Cold Coffee. 3 out of 5 stars.
That's still a passing grade.
It's still a passing grade. Exactly. You know what I'm saying? I wasn't really that unhappy when I saw it. I was like, well, at least that's pretty much positive.
That's a C, right?
But then this was the review he left us. This Well, actually, it says this you for you, John. So I think he meant to say this is for you, John. But it says this you for you, John, USA, and then there's 4 USA flags, which I found a little bit shocking. Like
because you're a communist.
Yes, I am.
You're saying you're not American enough?
I get it, because I think it boils back to when we talked about the fact that American fans aren't quite as passionate and quite as solid sometimes as the international fans, and I'm not a fan of the USA chant. You know what I mean? Like
you said you weren't a fan of the USA chant.
I don't think it needs that.
I guess I see. I remember that.
You know what I'm saying?
You know what's better than that? The OHIO chant.
Oh, that's Jesus Christ.
I know you hate that one even
more.
IO.
So
I know
ridiculous.
You hate
if you realize that you have to. By the way, if you've never been in Ohio at all, I lived in Ohio for a year. I lived in Dayton. People that graduated from, what do they call it? The Ohio State University.
The Ohio State. You don't even have to graduate from it. You can just claim it by being a wonderful individual and an Ohioan and a fan of the greatest university in the world.
Wow. That obviously Cole Coffey went to. For whatever reason, when you're in Ohio, if you are a fan of Ohio State University or if you graduate from there or whatever, if you just in a random bar say OH, somebody will yell back to you,
IO.
It's the fucking.
Which most of people, if you watch Stipe,
I'm not gonna lie. The first time I thought it was cool. Oh, he did do that after he won, right?
Yeah,
he did. The first time I saw it, I thought it was cool. It's kind of neat. I mean, to be in a bar full of strangers and just like have that connection. But then it gets kind of old.
And then you're just not strangers anymore. At that point, you have a brotherhood, a fellowship, if you will.
All right, so listen. Bottom line is, he chastised me. So,
he might be one of the.
So Tom Bay, I apologize. Hopefully, you're still listening. Maybe you can go back and give us 5 stars. I'm not hating the USA chant. I'm just saying,
he might be one of those guys that maybe he thought when you were saying that the USA fans typically don't really cheer or do whatever. Maybe he's thinking like, I cheer my ass off. We cheer our ass off, brah.
Tom Bay.
OH.
I don't know.
That was for you. He said IO. I heard him back. I felt
all right. So, all right. Maybe you can leave us some better feedback than that. All right. Let's talk about UFC 221 that's happening this week. We're not there. We're not there in Perth. I'm bummed. I hate to not be there, but I won't belabor that point. I get it. It's not the greatest. It sucks that Whitaker's out. How cool is that though? That Whitaker got pulled from this fight because of his health issues, and then his baby was born this week, and he said, "Hey, listen, that's a message from God. Things happening the same way." I mean, that is cool. Like, I will say this as a father, there's nothing better than. I mean, I love nothing more than.
So you're saying it was great because he was there to be able to watch it or whatever?
Well, he was just saying, yeah. I mean, he would have had to have been training and getting ready for a fight during the week of his kid's birth, and it turns out that he got to be with his kid. His kid was born early, basically.
Gotcha.
So I mean, everything worked out perfect. So
we had to spend a lot more money than to earn money this week.
Why you gotta be negative, dude?
I'm not being negative. I'm just being real. I mean,
negative.
He could have made a lot of money, and now he had to spend a lot of money.
Fuck this guy. I've been working this guy for 150
I love
episodes.
babies. I love babies.
The dingo.
The dingo took his baby. Now he's got to watch out for the dingoes. What was that movie? What was that movie called?
It's a real
fucking
line?
movie. It's like a dingo ate my baby or something, because there was like this family was like camping or something, and then the kid went missing.
I thought you just made that up.
No, it's like a movie. I remember watching. I'll look it up. I'll look it up.
All right, let's talk about. All right, so just looking at the prelims.
I'm doing a search on Google. Dingo ate my baby movie. Here's a YouTube clip of it from the movie A Cry in the Dark with Meryl Streep, dog. Meryl Streep. They don't get much.
I thought you made that up. That's a real movie line?
Yeah.
The dingo.
Come on, Meryl. Where you at? Let me fast forward to the part. I didn't remember that it was Meryl Streep that delivered that. That's legit, y'all.
All right.
A Cry in the Dark. That is a real thing. That's what it's from. A dingo ate my baby.
Well, hopefully.
This is calling it Evil Angels. Which one is it?
hopefully Robert
While
Whittaker
on
doesn't have
vacation
to
in
worry
the
about
Australian outback, Seventh-day Adventist priest Michael Chamberlain, Sam Neill, and his wife Lindy, Meryl Streep, discovered their baby Azaria is missing from the tent where she is sleeping. Lindy claims she saw a dingo leave the tent with something in its mouth. Whoa, but see, the media were hating on it. They thought that they murdered her baby, but it was the dingoes. The dingoes took her baby. Okay, I got a little distracted.
So ridiculous. All right. Can we talk about UFC 221 for Christ's sake? Good Lord. What is wrong with you?
I'm happy he's having a baby, though. Just watch them dingoes.
All right. Listen, UFC 221, all right, get it. This is not going to be a huge pay-per-view success. There's no question about it.
No.
It's not going to be massive, but just want to kind of burn through the preliminary card real quick. I think there's some fun fights on here. First of all, Teruto is on the prelims. I'm so bummed that we can't be in Perth talking to Teruto Ishihara versus Jose Quinones. This will be a fun fight. I think it's going to be a fun fight. Mizuno Rota versus Ross Pearson. I think
that's another
going to be a fun fight. I mean,
Pearson's always been a good interview for us. Always been a fan of the Road Show.
I'm bummed that we can't get either one of those. Those are going to be good. Juicio Formiga versus Ben Wynn is going to be fantastic.
That's a good one.
Jeremy Kennedy versus Alex Volkanovski, by the way. I mean, two dudes that are legit prospects in the featherweight division and not necessarily getting the love they want. That's a big fight, and it's not going to be getting any love whatsoever. Israel Adesanya. I will say this tomorrow morning. I hope it happened because it's supposed to be happening right now. Israel Adesanya's Stylebender is doing an interview with Ben Folks.
The last Stylebender.
The dude is the man. Dude. Like, if you watch his highlights, he's I guess I hate. Here's what I hate to say. He's the UFC's version of MVP, Michael Venom Page.
I've heard that before.
But I hate to do that because MVP hasn't been tested yet, and obviously Israel Adesanya for coming in and facing Rob Wilkinson, like, he's going to be tested right away. He's not getting any gimme fights.
Yeah.
And I'm not hating on Bellator for the way they've matchmake MVP. Like, they're doing what they can do.
Yeah.
But this dude, I think, is legit. I think he's worth watching. So we're recording this, and I believe the interview is happening right now as we're recording this, or just happened recently. I hope we'll have a piece on him. But I will say, I think this is a dude that people should watch. You've seen some highlights. You think?
Yeah.
I mean, he looks fun, right?
Yeah, he looks a lot of fun. Look at this card. I mean, that's a sick card. Now that I kind of look at it, because even the next fight with Damian Brown and
our man Damian Brown,
dude. I mean, those. Outside of maybe. Well, now that you kind of sold me more on the Adesanya fight, like, out of those 7 fights, I mean, 6 of them, 5 to 6 of those are like must-see.
I care about it. I get it. Okay, first fight of the night, I can see some people saying Daichi A versus Luke Jumo.
Yeah.
Luke Jumo is a guy that a lot of people are high on from the New Zealand market. So I can see how
that Jumo.
I can see how some people would say, like, all right, that's the one. All right, whatever. If you're going to miss the fight. I
hate it when the UFC puts the wrong got him looking to the left.
I know, right?
That drives me so crazy. I'm like, come on, y'all take pictures. Put the one where he faces the other direction. But that's a good. That is. I mean, that's even that. It's
like UFC.com.
He's a good fight. So yeah, I mean, really, when you think of it, all 7 of those fights are good fights. Are going to be fun fights to watch.
Ishihara Quinones, I think, is going to be a lot of fun. Hirota Pearson is going to be fun. Formiga win. That actually means something. In fact, I ran into earlier this week. I ran into Joseph Benavidez at my kid trains at Extreme Couture, and we were at practice last night. Actually, we were at practice last night, and I ran into Joseph Benavidez. He was leaving pro practice. He was actually saying, "I'm paying attention to this fight." He was like, "Dude, if he's like, Formiga win. He's like, if Win wins that fight, like, maybe that's a fight that makes sense. I was supposed to fight Ben Wynn before. Maybe we match that up around like May, June, somewhere around there." He was saying Joseph Benavidez was saying he should be back around late May, early June. But I was also telling him, like, listen, I mean, if you already know that Demetrius is fighting TJ, which it seems like it should be, which I think that's a fight that should happen. There's no need to rush back, right? I mean, he's recovering from injury. You might as well just chill for a little bit. Let yourself recover 100%. Fight around that same time. But he was saying, if Ben wins that fight, I should probably fight him. So match that back up again.
He submitted Tim Elliott, man. That's no joke right there. I mean, like, I would think my gut tells me that's a big step up for Wynn going to Joe, but this is Joe right off of injury, and he was able to push his way kind of easily through Tim Elliott. I mean, like,
and I feel like
Ben's firing on a really good level right now.
I was telling Joseph, and I think we've talked about it before, but I feel like, I get it. The whole thing, like, if you're 0-2 against a champion, it's hard to get a third fight. But it's literally been years. It's been years, man.
Yeah.
I think it's time. I think if he continues to prove himself as the number one contender, yes, we've seen it before, but let's see it again. So, love that. All right, Jeremy Kinney, Alex Volkanovski. Look at the records. Just look at the records. 11-0, 16-1. I mean, those are guys that matter. They're fighting at featherweight. That's a big fight. So, yes, style bender. I think he's going to be massive. And then Damian Brown, always
that's pretty solid, man. Early prelims and prelims, that's solid.
All right.
Those are solid.
The main card, though, it kicks off with Tyson Pedro versus Saperbek Safarov. Tyson Pedro. Definitely.
Who they have facing the wrong direction as well.
Do they have Tyson Pedro
Jesus
facing the wrong
Christ,
direction?
UFC, come on.
They need somebody.
Yeah, they got him facing to the left. He's on the left side, and they have him pointing to the left like they're both, like, staring at Joanna over there wearing her Shop Now UFC store ad.
I mean, they probably would be if we're being honest.
What, looking at Joanna?
Yeah.
Yeah, instead of looking to the other side for Stipe. I did feel good that the fact that I was like, oh, hey, look, they put Stipe in there, as much as Stipe feels like they don't advertisement push him, and they really didn't when it came to how much they were pushing Nagano. They didn't push Stipe as much, but immediately after that, I felt like I was like, wait, look at this UFC store ad. Here's Stipe, but I was like, why are we not seeing Rose in her champion gear? How come we're still seeing Joanna over here? But whatever. But yeah, so they got Tyson looking the wrong direction as well. But dude, that fight is sick. Tyson's always been a big sort of favorite of ours. He's always been good. Even I remember at the athlete retreat, he came over and had some good conversation with us. Was in great spirits, and he's always fun to watch. And that's a dangerous dude. Man, he's only 6-1.
I know. That's
crazy.
Career. Well, listen, I had a chance to talk to Tyson right before I left the house to come here to record the podcast. And, might as well share that, right?
Yes.
Here's the conversation we had with Tyson Pedro. Tyson, how you doing, sir?
Good, John. How you doing?
I'm doing well, man. I appreciate you taking the time. I know it's getting close to the weight cut and the fight and all that, so I appreciate it.
No trouble at all.
Well, talk to me, man. How was your preparation for this one, man? I mean, you and Mark and Ty, everybody being on the same card. I gotta imagine it was kind of a little bit of a special feeling.
Amazing. It's getting to that end of the camp. I just want to punch someone now, so I'm getting that itchy fist. I didn't train. I got to go up and see them training, but they're too much for me. They're they're the worst to train with out of everyone. I don't know about Mark, but Ty and the rest of their crew, timings and trying to organize stuff, it's just too much for me.
I bet, man. I bet. You guys had Rob there for a little while as well. What was that like? Everybody, that would have been really special. Had he been able to pull through as well, I imagine.
Yeah, we've been trying to line up training for a while now, Rob and I, and it just hasn't worked out. He's had an injury, I've had an injury, he's been out, I've been away from camp, so this time it worked out perfectly, and I got some mad training in with him. We got some awesome sparring in. Unfortunately, obviously, that he got really sick, but it worked out for the best for him as well. Got to see the birth of his baby. So.
Very true. What is that? I mean, seeing that group of guys together, man, it feels like this, a special generation, man. Do you kind of feel like there's something kind of magic going on right now?
Yeah, man, we're that next generation's the poly takeover.
I love it. Speaking of, I got to ask about the podcast, man. I've had fun watching your podcast. What got you into that, man? What influenced you to want to do that? Man,
we're sitting, Ty and myself, we were sitting there, we're watching these funny guys just teasing videos, and we're like, man, we should do this. It will be funny and we'll just go in the garage, talk shit. We were planning it for ages. It never happened, and I was like, man, let's just pump out an episode. I can't remember who I was talking with, but someone just motivated me, and they're like, I think it was Gary Vee or something, and he was like, it doesn't matter what the content is, just get it out there and learn on the way. And we finally got in there and ended up doing an episode, and I was it has now progressed into something totally different from what we thought it was, and we're starting to add value for people and starting to show, I guess, it's a platform where we can get people on and show that people who weren't expected anything from are able to do something with their life, and it's
That's awesome, man.
Pretty cool.
I mean, both you guys are awesome dudes and got really great personalities. So what's the feedback been like? Has it been positive? People enjoyed getting to kind of see that side of you?
I don't think I'd be surprised if I can't remember one actual negative comment where actually no, there was an Indian guy on there that called Ty fat and said that we're really dumb. That was the only thing that we've had on there. But other than that, it's been all positive feedback.
That's awesome, man. Well, it's been fun to watch. All right, let's talk about fighting a little bit, man. Your last fight out obviously didn't go your way, man. And I know you don't seem like the kind of guy to dwell on things or whatever, but. Have you gone back and watched that fight? I mean, are there lessons and things you can take out of that loss?
Oh man, maybe I think people think when I say that I'm not dwelling on it, I haven't learned from my mistakes. I've watched that fight about 15, 20 times just to see why I messed up my strategy and what were the things so not in a bad way. I didn't watch it going, oh man, I sucked at this. I was like, why? Because I knew that I messed up the strategy in that fight, and there was a couple of things that I needed to fix up. But in the fight, I'm really good at puzzle solving. That's my thing. I don't really like watching people's fights beforehand because I like figuring it out when I'm in there. And I didn't know why I didn't figure it out as well. So it was cool to watch it back, and then I think I've gone back to what I'm good at now, and we'll see if it's paid off.
That's interesting. You think people maybe don't realize how serious you take it sometimes? I mean, you come in with the fun walkout songs. You're always smiling. You got the laid back attitude. You think sometimes people don't realize maybe how serious you do take your career?
Oh, I think people would highly underestimate how seriously I take it. I don't take life seriously, but I take fighting seriously. When I'm joking and laughing, walking into the cage, that's pretty much how I take life, just a joke. As soon as I step in and I bow into that cage, it's game on, it's kill mode. So I think that's one of the things that I fucked up in my last fight as well. I just told someone recently, when I walked in, for some reason, I didn't switch on. I don't know if it was that I was content with the Latifi fight, just going, man, I'm in here against a top 10 guy. Look where I'm at. I was sort of like, it doesn't really matter what happens. Look where I've made it to in the UFC in such a short time. And I was pacing back and forth, and I was like, I wonder where my wife's sitting. And then I was like, oh, shit, this is going to be a long night. And then I started punching myself in the mouth.
That's crazy. So, I mean, do you think because I think people have had high expectations for you, man. I know I've enjoyed watching your growth. I know, people in Australia had been talking to me about you for a long time. I mean, do you think maybe, you didn't have enough expectations for yourself?
Yeah, I guess so. That's where I guess that contempt came from. I can't explain it. Even after the fight, I wasn't even although I wouldn't dwell either way if I lost, I sort of walked out and go, oh man, yeah, that's all right. I sort of was almost happy with that, and I was like, but then as soon as that week passed, I was like, man, what isn't the attitude I should be in? Because even going into the camp, I was like, he's a very strong wrestler, so once he takes me down, then I'm going to do this to get up, rather than I'm a beast. I can take him down. He can't take me down. Do you know what I mean? I sort of was in the wrong mindset that I should that I'm not usually in. I'd almost already accepted getting taken down and things like that, and then working from there rather than it not happening in the first place.
Yeah, no doubt. You said you like to figure out things in the fight. Do you change your approach this time? I mean, is that the right approach? Is that who you are, or did you do more to kind of maybe figure out who Safarov is and what he's going to bring to the table?
No, I've probably watched more than what I have on my last opponents, but that's a collective minute and a half. I still like figuring it out in the ring because in the octagon, I should say, but it's more because you don't know what that opponent's going to bring. If you plan that, oh man, he's going to stand up and strike with me. And Safarov is a perfect example, actually. In his last fight, he stood and tried to bang with Villante. And then in the fight before that, he ran across the cage and grabbed onto the guy. So I don't know which one he's going to bring. And I'm just making sure that I'm bringing the best version of me, and I'll beat him at wherever he wants to take it.
No doubt. I mean, listen, I don't think losses are ever good things, but you do hear guys say, hey, listen, it's nice. I don't have to worry about that undefeated record. I don't have pressure. You don't have expectations. I mean, are there positives, I guess, to take out of a defeat?
I didn't take any negatives out of the defeat, to be honest. I only got positives because I learned so much, not even about the fight, about myself. And I realized that, even beforehand, losing is not the biggest thing in the world. I keep telling these people, everyone takes losses every day in life, and it's how you deal with those losses that will show what you're going to do in the future. So I took that loss, I learned from it, and now we're going to see a better version of myself because of it.
You feel like it's, this is going to be kind of your breakout moment? Because I feel like, I don't know, man. I feel like watching you, you're kind of under the radar a little bit. People knew who you were. People, felt like, I feel like people put more expectations on you than you were putting on yourself. Do you feel like now you're ready to maybe embrace that and really kind of rush to the spotlight a little bit?
Man, I'll be honest with you. For some reason, I'm only bringing out 60% of what I'm doing in training. My striking, the way my grappling to striking flows in training and wrestling, it's not coming out in the cage. And I know that's because I haven't had many fights. So once what I'm doing in training comes out in that octagon, then that's when it's going to be breaking out. And that's what I'm trying to do every fight. And this one, we've really been practicing on that flow. So when everyone sees it, they're going to go, okay, Tyson, all right, let's go. And that's what I'm trying to do every time for the fans.
That's awesome, man. Well, you've got your walk-in down at the very least. What's the track? What are we going with this week?
Come on, bro. You know I can't do that. It's been a surprise every time. I can't give you the inside scoop like that.
We're just trying to break the hard news here, man.
Let me just say the crowd better be going off when I'm walking in. Otherwise, there's going to be dramas.
That's what I like to hear, man. Last thing I got for you, it was funny. I was checking out your UFC profile. I don't know when you filled it out or when you told them. It says your favorite grappling technique is a flying arm bar. Have you ever done a flying arm bar in your life?
Yeah, in the jiu-jitsu tournament, I hit it. Yeah, when I first wrote that, my fighting style for my first 3 fights was beautiful. So I'm hoping UFC can keep that on. I don't know if they can put on your fighting style was beautiful, but that's what I want. Because that's my style.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. Well, listen, I'm excited. It's good to see you back in there, man. And I imagine this will only progress you forward. How do you see this thing going down? I mean, what are you expecting? Again, I think this is a big moment for you and everybody else, man. I think this could be a breakout night for you and Ty, especially. Of course, Mark's already a legend of the sport, but I think this could be a breakout moment for you. So how do you see this thing going down?
I have a feeling he's going to try and take my head off in the first, but he takes a lot of punishment to try and give out punishment, but I plan on giving out a lot of punishment. So it's not going to be a good night in the office for him.
All right, Tyson Pedro, he wouldn't give up the goods. He wouldn't tell us what the walkout song is going to be. It should be Sexual by Naked. I'm
nonstop. He played something. Did he play something different?
Mariah Carey last time. He did some Mariah Carey. It was damn it, what was it? It was Mariah Carey last time out.
Feeling emotions.
Something like that.
Deeper than I've ever felt. I don't think that was the song.
It's got to he's got to go back to Sexual by Naked. That's the jam.
That was the jam. I had never heard that song until he did that walkout, and then I was like, dude, that is like one of the funnest songs ever.
I'm telling you, he wouldn't give it up, but that's got to be the one. All right. So let's talk about. Let's keep it on 221. Li Jingliang versus Jake Matthews.
Leech.
I'm a Leech fan. I'm not gonna lie. I love Jake Matthews. I mean, Jake Matthews has been a guy who's been carrying the Australian banner forever.
Yep.
He's been the guy that they've been wanting to be like kind of the future generation, which is crazy because there's so many more future generation guys coming, but. I'm a Jingliang fan, dude. I love it, man. The
it's
fight
the
in
Jingling,
Shanghai.
baby. Go ahead, baby. It's the Jingling, baby. Go ahead, baby. I don't know. That just
LL Cool J.
It's
the Jingling, baby. Go ahead, baby. It's Jingling, baby. Go ahead, baby. I love it.
We should suggest that to him. I'm like, dude, come out to that. He probably would.
Man, we have had too many frosty beverages
at
this point.
Well, so Pedro walked out to Not Sexual and lost.
Right. That's what I'm saying.
Motherfucker got to bring that shit back. Bring that shit back. So Jingling, baby. Go ahead, baby.
Li Jingliang, baby. Go ahead, baby.
That's a good fight. But yeah, Matthews is super tough. But man,
great fight.
Jingling is fucking
See, to me, this goes back to the conversation we were having last week, and I've really been giving a lot of thought about the conversation we had last week about the development of athletes and when to target the athletes and when to, like Li Jingliang versus Jake Matthews is a legit fight, a legit fight between two legit cats that have a history that represent China versus Australia. You know what I mean? Like, this is a legit fight, and I mean, is the UFC talking about it at all? And I'm not trying to shit on the UFC, man. We have a lot of friends at the UFC. I'm not trying to shit on them, and I get it, man. They've got a fight every week. They got things to worry about. But, dude, this is people that matter. This is people that you should target. This is the break. This is the break. This is the breakout. I mean, Jingling, his breakout moment was already in Shanghai. Yeah. When he won in Shanghai, I mean, and I was fortunate enough to be there and see that. Amazing. It was incredible. But this will be even more. And then, again, Jake Matthews, the guy that has been supposedly, yes, he's had some losses, and it hasn't all gone perfect for him, but the guy that was supposed to carry the flag for Australia. I mean, these are two young cats. This is your next generation superstars.
That's it.
And there's not a touch.
I mean, because, like, when it comes to, like, China, who else? Who's a bigger star right now? It's him. I mean, like, this is the guy they need to push. If you want to make a big push into that market, this is the kid they need to do it. And you're right. I think also with Matthews, when it comes to, I mean, granted they have a little bit more lenience in the fact that Whitaker, you already have an Australian champion. Right. You already have somebody that's sort of carrying the banner. You know, so it's not like they need to put as much pressure on him. But when it comes for, like, the China and the Asian market, like, Lee is the dude. Like, that's the guy they need to be pushing out there. I mean, granted, and I believe he's speaking more English.
More. He doesn't like do interviews yet. It was funny because our friends for Submission Radio, good cats, they were like, hey, we'd like to talk to Li Jingliang. What do you think about having him? I was like, I'm just going to be honest with you. Like, if you want to have him, you should, because he's an amazing personality. Awesome. I love him. He's just not comfortable doing interviews.
It's got to be video, though.
Off camera, he'll talk about it.
True, but you got to have him on video because he smiles. Dude, he has an infectious personality that you just absolutely
big smile. Like,
I feel better every time that we interview him. Yep. Every time I see him, I feel just more positive because dude is radiant. He just is enjoying life. He's doing exactly what he wants to be doing, and he's doing it at an extremely high level. So I mean, what's to be upset about, I guess? But yeah, dude, this guy has always been. Even when it was years ago when the UFC was testing the sort of market with the Chinese, and they brought some Chinese fighters over to America to kind of work in some of the different camps, and they went to the UFC gym and they did some different things. He was one of the cats that came over with them. And I remember thinking, like, man, there's something about these guys, you know, and some of the guys have kind of went off to the side and some of them aren't really fighting, but this is one that has risen to the top, you know. So this is definitely a kid
we said
that need to keep an eye on.
That X factor, like, you can't quantify it. You can't say exactly what it is, but when you see it, like, he has it.
Yep.
He has it. And we've interviewed him a bunch and we've seen him fight a bunch. And, you know, our communication between each other, the language is minimal at best because he speaks a little bit of English and I speak no Chinese.
Right.
But I can still identify when I see him. Yeah, I can still identify when I see him. He's a star. He's a star. You know what I mean? It's that X factor, that thing that you can't quantify but you can identify. He's got it, man. And there's literally no discussion about this fight whatsoever.
He will definitely carry that market. He has the personality. He has the look. He has the skills to do it. I mean, like, he is going to be a big star. If he's not already, he's going to be a big star in China for sure.
I agree. All right, Cyril Asker versus Tai Tuivasa. Love Cyril Asker, especially since he won in China, and I had a chance to talk to him, and I found out that he has, like, a used car lot, and that's his life or whatever. Amazing, but I do think they've given him an incredibly tough matchup. Tai Tuivasa looks like the real deal and is – I can tell you, incredibly popular in the Australian market for sure. Again, you talk about that X factor. I think he has it, especially for that market. I'll be honest, I didn't know. Indigenous, so I didn't know about that part of his culture, about that part of his life, about that part of his history. But I think Cyril Asker's in for a tough fight here, but I had a chance to talk briefly with Tai Tuivasa earlier as well, right before we came out here, and I figured, hey, what the hell? Let you guys listen to that. Here's Tai Tuivasa. Tai, how you doing, sir?
Yeah, good, thank you. How are you?
I'm good, man. I appreciate you taking the time. I know we're getting close to the fight, man, so I appreciate you doing this.
It's all good, bro. Can you hear me? Can you hear me good?
Yeah, man. You sound good.
Oh, sweet as.
All right, well, let's talk about coming into this fight, brother. I mean, this has been kind of a cool one, right? I mean, you and Mark's around and Tyson's around. It seems like you guys have been having a pretty good time, all getting ready for a big opportunity on a UFC event together. What's it been like for you?
Oh, it's been awesome. Camp's been good. The vibe is good. We're all together and we're all ready.
Has it felt special at all? I mean, you guys have been in the game for a long time. I mean, I know you're still a young guy, but I mean, you guys have all kind of grown up together and been around each other. But does this feel special? I mean, all you guys on a UFC main card. It's a pretty big spot for everybody.
Oh, it's massive. It's like a dream come true. Especially for me, Tyson being my brother-in-law and Mark being a role model and someone I've looked up to for a very long time, and to be fighting on the same card, it's massive.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I mean, listen, I'll be honest. There's got to be as much hype around you as there is those guys right now. Man, you had such an amazing debut. What was that feeling like? I mean, it was just a couple months ago, but what was that performance like for you and that feeling to come in and just fight as impressively as you did?
It's massive. That's what I chase, and I think that's what all fighters chase, and that's what all those hard times where you don't want to train and all that shit, it all pays off, and especially when you get a good win like that, it makes it all worth it. That's for sure.
Yeah, no doubt. What's life been like for you, man? I mean, I gotta imagine you're dealing with a little bit more attention, maybe a little bit more interviews, all that stuff. Has life been different since that win?
Yeah, just with that stuff, more people notice my ugly head. But other than that, man, I'm the same old me. It's all the same,
Yeah, no question. Is it? Do you enjoy that? I mean, it's weird because I mean, you kind of need the attention, right? I mean, to be successful in MMA, to be successful in fighting, you got to have that attention. People got to care about you. But I mean, you don't seem like a guy to me that necessarily, wants to be to have the spotlight or whatever. So what's that balance like for you?
No, I don't mind it. I actually, it's better. More people are going to watch me fight, but I don't mind. I like the crowd. I like to be amongst it as well. But it's all up to me to get in there and get the job done. At the end of the day, we got to fight. So as long as I'm feeling good, and it's all going to come. I've been dreaming about this for a long time now.
Very cool. I had heard about you coming up on the regional scene. People were talking about you. What I didn't know was your background as, the first Indigenous fighter from Australia. I didn't know that. Is that something that you want people to know more about? I mean, you mentioned it briefly, but as your career progresses, I mean, is awareness and rights and things like that, I mean, is that something that you want to be forefront for you, or do you not want to get, so involved in that side of things?
Yeah, of course. I want to be a leader in my community, A lot of things get swept under the rug over this side of the world, and I'm on a stage where I can showcase, what really happens and how we've been treated over here. So yeah, I do. I like to stand up for my peoples, of course.
That's very cool. I mean, as an American, you're right. I don't know a whole lot about that. So I mean, what are the changes that need to happen? I mean, I know you're preparing for a fight right now, but what kind of things need to happen, for your community?
Oh, we're very similar to the native Indians, you know what I mean? But I think we copped it a bit more. So there's a lot, a lot can't, it's been a long time, a lot can't change, but at least more people can be aware and people can change their attitudes about us.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, I need to educate myself, and when you're not in a fight camp, we'll circle back together and learn a little bit more. Let's talk about this fight. I mean, Cyril Asker, what do you know about the guy? I mean, are you a kind of guy that studies tape and gets ready and all that, or do you just kind of go in there and throw down?
Yeah, I kind of get in there and throw down. You know what I mean? So, that's up to my coaching staff and my trainers. To worry about that stuff. For me, it's more just as long as I'm fit and I feel good and I'm on point and my trainers say I'm on point, well, then I'm sweet, man. We're going in there to punch on, so, anything can happen.
No doubt about it. The heavyweight division is fun because, a couple wins and you can throw yourself right up at the top of the heap, So are you thinking about that? I mean, you thinking about the upper echelon, the higher end, contender fights and things like that, or do you feel like you're still a young guy that needs some time to develop and get comfortable?
Well, of course that's in my mind, but at the moment, I've had one fight and everyone's asking me, are you going to fight these guys and all this, and I'm like, but right now I just want to keep fighting the best guys, and sooner or later I definitely will be up there. But for now, I'm just taking the fights that they come, and I want to get paid. I've got a little family I've got to look after and all that shit. So right now I'm just going to knock the few first guys out that I come up against, and then by the end of this year, I want to be knocking on the door for the top 15, top 10 guys.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, you said you just debuted, but you're back already. Is this the kind of pace that you feel comfortable with? I mean, if they'll let you get in there every 3 months, is that something you can keep up?
Oh, of course. That's more money, man.
No doubt about it. Well, you said it. I mean, people have expectations. I mean, I think people are high on you, man. They see you as a prospect, and they have been for a while. I mean, are you? Do you feel yourself like that? I mean, do you feel like there's a bright future for you, or are you still kind of feeling your way out a little bit?
No, of course, man. Like, I wouldn't waste my time doing something if I didn't think that I could be one of the best at it. And of course, through my experiences, Mark's taken me under his wing for the past 5 years, so that gives me confidence in itself. If I can stand there and run it with the best, why can't I be the best sooner or later? You know what I mean?
Yeah, no doubt. You talked about supporting your family. Did you get to do anything fun with the extra 50 G's from the performance of the night, or was that all family, or did you get to spoil yourself a little bit?
Yeah, man. We did a bit. After this fight, we're heading off to Thailand, me and my little family, just to relax. And but then I'm sure, hopefully, we get another 50K after this one.
Very nice. And budding podcast host, we should say, right? I mean, you're kind of doing some things outside the cage too. How are you enjoying that?
Yeah, I'm loving it. I'm kind of new to all this stuff. I'm pretty old school, so yeah, that was Tyson's idea, and people are loving it, man. So yeah, it's pretty good.
Very cool, very cool. Well, this is a big spot for you, man. I know the debut was big, but now this is a big one on pay-per-view. So, how do you see this thing going down on Sunday morning?
I'm going to try and keep it Bam Bam style, you know what I mean? Get in there, get out of there. The quicker I get it done, man, the quicker I'm up to the bar.
I love it. All right, brother. I appreciate the time. Best of luck. We'll definitely be watching, man.
Anytime, my man. Cheers.
See you. Welcome back to the MMA Road Show. That was Tuivasa, who it says he's going to get in there and do some damage this week, and I think he will. Pretty cool, man. Tyson, Pedro, Tuivasa, Mark Hunt are all training together, getting everything ready for.
That's a strong camp.
That's a strong camp.
And
they had Whitaker in camp before he got hurt. I mean, that's
strong.
That's crazy.
Now, if the UFC could get with this and put Cyril and Ty facing opposite directions, I'm gonna send notes.
Just having issues with UFC.
So rather than just one guy facing outwards, you guys look at the site. You guys know what I'm talking about. They always face inwards, so they're staring at each other. This one, they really went above and beyond and have them both facing outwards. So it almost looks like, I don't want to look at you. No, I want to look at you either. I'm just going to turn my other way. I'm just going to look the other way. I ain't going to look at you like they have beef. They ain't got beef yet. Yeah, they're both facing outwards. Neither one is facing inwards. Normally there's one facing inward, and they'll have one guy facing to the other way. This one is like they're like, oops, let's just put the whatever. But I don't know. That's just me being just ADD, OCD, or whatever.
Just
but I'm
saying.
like, come on, Silverback and Bam Bam. Turn around and look at each other.
Hey, listen, before we finish up on the UFC, I did want to say one thing on Bellator. So I don't know if you saw this, Cold Coffee. I know you've been busy. You've been out there getting interviews with Roy Nelson on the Hulaton, doing what you do. Did you see this tweet? There was a cat named Marcus Sims who's based in the California area, and he tweeted, and it's since been deleted, but I did save it. It says, you guys will not see me on Bellator March 2nd due to them not paying fighters what they need to be paid. $250 for show and another $250 to win. I'd rather get a job at Dollar Tree. Not sure if you saw this or not, but the guy actually tweeted.
Was this one of the amateur guys?
Yeah, and he's an amateur looking to turn pro, and I don't know Marcus, and I'm not trying to put him on blast or anything like that. But I did want to – I followed up on this because here's the thing. He put this out, and he had a little picture of his contract, which deservedly so, because it does sound crazy, right? Like $250 to show, $250 to win. Like, that does sound pretty crazy for Bellator. Now, on a regional stage, no. I mean, that shit still happens. Let's be honest with you. 250 show, 250 win isn't ridiculous on the regional stage. But, he's saying this is for Bellator, so he was a little bit frustrated. But there were a couple things that stood out to me. First of all, the contract that he tweeted, it showed an Atlanta event on March 3rd. So I was like, hold on. There's not a Bellator event in Atlanta on March 3rd. In fact, the night before, they're doing a show in Thackerville on March 2nd. So that doesn't make any sense. So I kind of followed up with Bellator, and I spoke to some people off record behind the scenes. But the bottom line is, this is a Bellator event, but it's one of those monster energy events where it's like they're doing fights at a Supercross. They've done some NASCAR events.
Okay.
Now this one is a Supercross, a motorcycle event or whatever. So it has the Bellator name on it, but it's not actually a Bellator fight. So it's a little bit of a difficult situation because yes, Bellator is involved in it, but they're not the ones even arranging the pay. So I don't know. It was kind of a weird position for everybody involved. I felt kind of bad for the fighter, obviously, because it sucks. I mean, to think about that, like you're fighting for 250 and 250, like what? But I felt bad for Bellator as well because this isn't necessarily like their contract. You know what I mean? They're basically doing this thing where it's branding awareness, it's promotional awareness, but it's not really their fight. I mean, they've done these NASCAR fights, and they've never signed a single person from it. But it does have their name on it. And I have heard that it did get their attention behind the scenes, and they are going to try to, do things a little bit better and make changes. But I don't know. I felt bad.
So it was 250, 250, so 500 for the night if he won?
Yeah. Well, and people were – and I get it, man. I mean, if you're fighting –
It's his first pro fight?
It's his first pro fight. And
it's debut fight.
It's totally fair if it's not a Bellator fight. The bottom line is it's totally fair. If you're making 250 and 250 in your first fight – that shit happens. Like, I don't know if people realize that or not. Like, that happens. Dude, I mean, I don't want to bring up a sore subject, but, we've been talking about doing a series. Wait, should I even talk? I shouldn't even say that. I shouldn't even say the series that we've been talking about with my first fight. Should I say that? Are we giving away a concept? We shouldn't give it away.
Don't give it away.
Okay. No, whatever. We've been talking about doing a concept with my first fight where we do stories with people. It's not like we're the first person to ever talk to people about their first fight.
True. That's true.
So people have done that. But, I mean, dude, how many people we talk to that say, like, I fought for a bar tab, I fought for a whatever. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, people fight for nothing. So it's not out of the realm of reality. It's just that the Bellator name was attached to it. So,
yeah.
I don't know. It's kind of a weird situation.
It does, but it makes sense in the sense that it was just using the Bellator name, but it's not really a Bellator event. It's like it's a side branding, it's a side whatever. But I mean, when it comes down to it, I mean, like the guy could just say no. I mean, but don't try to gripe and be like, "Oh, I don't want to agree to it." If you don't want to agree to it, don't do it. Wait and take another pro fight elsewhere. But the fact that you're finally gonna get some, they're gonna push you out there, and people are gonna see you. And you're going to get paid something for it. I'm not saying
burn bridges right away, right?
Yeah, I mean, like it seems like don't put the cart before the horse. I mean, you got to go out and do some work, and then you could start commanding something. But I mean, if they're willing to shell out, I mean, granted, it would be nice if they just did 500, like a flat rate, instead of the possibility of that he can go out there and get starch, and he's only going to get half of what this possible amount was. But I mean, it's his first fight. I mean, he's putting out there it's not like they're going to promote, so it's not like the organization is really losing money on it or whatever, so it's not like they can be like, well, we promoted you, and that's why we're not paying whatever. But still, it comes down to the first fight, and you have every right to just say, no, that's not what I want, and then go out and try to find something else elsewhere.
I will say this. So here's what I thought about it. The reason I want to talk about it, because I feel like this was a negative, like all the way around. Like, nobody won. Like, I don't think Marcus Sims did himself any favor by, like, kind of burning bridges at Bellator, but it wasn't really a Bellator event. But, they don't look any good by their name being attached to this. They're trying to fix it or whatever. The one good thing I saw was Matt Bissett. He jumped in and gave a bunch of career advice, which is cool. A UFC fighter who's jumping in saying, I used to be my own manager. Here's how I would handle it. Here's what I would do. I thought that was cool. It was just one of those weird kind of negative situations. But the one thing I did want to say is because I haven't seen much reporting on this. I saw a lot of retweeting of this. I saw a lot of people talking shit about Bellator, but I didn't see many people reporting on this. So I just wanted to throw that out there. It was not a full actual Bellator fight. It was a one of those. They don't even want to call it a developmental series. It was basically just one of those things where their name is attached to it. So I just want the facts to be out there for people that listen. They can at least know what's up.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely want these guys to get the money that they deserve. But, when you're coming out and it's your very first fight, they have no idea what they're getting. Like how do you ask for, $1,000, $2,000 if you've never actually fought before? You could be as terrible as I am, and I don't deserve $1,000 to go out there and get my ass whipped.
Well, and the other thing too, I think a lot of people, and I would think that most people listening to this podcast probably understand, but if you don't, most of those lower level contracts include tickets. Basically, like if you, I know it kind of sucks.
They probably have incentives.
Well,
to
that's
sell
the
tickets.
thing. Well, you do get it's twofold. It's one, you get incentive to sell tickets, but you also get like we'll give you 50 tickets, and whatever you make off those, you make off those, and then you also get 100% of the next, or 20% of the next 100 tickets, or shit like that. But yeah, there are ticket seller things there, which I know a lot of people say, "Oh man, that sucks," and you're right, it does kind of suck that like, hey, I'm supposed to fight and actually physically sell tickets
and promote the fight.
I know it is. Listen, I'm not saying it doesn't suck, but it is a reality of the business, man.
Yeah,
that's the industry that we've chosen.
True, but I mean, like you could always say, you go forward. I mean, like I think a lot of these guys. I mean, like if you're as good as you can be, and sometimes you have to. I don't know. I hate to say take one for the team while you're working, while you're building your brand, but it's like we all have to take shitty jobs and build up. Like I didn't get my very first job at like the UFC. I didn't get my very first job at MMA Junkie. I had to take a lot of shitty jobs, 2 or 3 jobs at a time. And probably getting a lot less pay than what I deserve, but. You kind of do what you do. You take your knocks, you take your licks. For some people, it's actually physically taking the licks, but you work for it. I mean, but you pick and choose. I mean, if you're willing to take the money, but with the hopes that you're going to get something better out of it in the long run, then go for it. But if you feel that that's not good enough for you, then that's fine too. Just keep looking. Eventually, you'll find someone that's willing to shut their money. It's just tough to do that when you don't. Have a record. Maybe the guy's got like a 52-0 amateur record, and if that's the case, then yeah, you probably should get more than 250 and 250. But it's a tough thing. I want these guys to get the money they can get, but I also understand it's a business as well. And you can't. Not everybody can get paid a whole bunch of money, and especially if it's not legit Bellator. There's probably not much money to begin with.
It's not even real Bellator.
So
it's not even real. But I mean, anyway. All right. Well, listen. Listen to this. Speaking of somebody that. Doesn't mind speaking out against his employer. How about Mark Hunt? Mark Hunt doesn't mind talking a little bit of shit. Let's do this.
Mark Hunt.
We'll wrap up, but before we do that, let's talk about Mark Hunt because he is in a big fight with Curtis Blades. I love it. Co-main event. I love this fight. Mark Hunt, a big star down there, and fortunately, even though we didn't get a chance to make the trip to Perth, Pete Klosko. The man, Pete Klosko, runs the Australian PR. Dude, I should say.
He's a good dude.
He's a great dude, and he helped me get all these interviews. He said, listen, mate, it fucking sucks.
Did he actually say mate?
Here.
He probably did.
He did. Of course he did. He said, listen, mate. Maybe I just added that in, but I'm pretty sure he said it. I don't know. He said, listen, mate, I know it sucks that you're not down there, but I got your back. I'm going to help you nonetheless. Pete Klosko, the man, set this interview up with Mark Hunt, and here's what the Super Samoan had to say. Mark, how you doing, sir?
Hey, how you doing?
I'm good, man. Hey, I really appreciate you taking the time. Thank you very much.
No, thanks for having me on. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. Mark, listen, I know you've fought a ton and done it all over the world, but I got to ask if this week feels a little special, having Tyson there with you, having Ty with you as well. Is this kind of a special feeling between all you guys?
Yeah, it is. It's a sad thing what happened with Robbie, but it's a great. It's good for me to fight. Well, actually, honestly, it just tells me, these guys are half my age, and I'm fucking, and I'm old. So, that's what makes me laugh about it. But yeah, it's a good feeling to be fighting on the same card as the young guys, and I look forward to doing it.
No doubt. I want to ask Mark, what was training like? Because I know that normally I would imagine that one of you guys could kind of be the priority, and everybody else kind of helps that guy. But with all of you guys getting ready at one time, I mean, was that a great thing because everybody's peaking at the same time, or did it make any challenges because, one guy couldn't be the focus?
Nah, it's not like that for us. So we focus on everyone here. We're talking to someone that's fought 2-3 different generations of fighting. And I mean, I'm still fighting, so I mean, you don't need to teach me how to fight again. So we focus on all of us here, what we're doing. So it's to get everyone ready to fight, which is good. So training camp was great. It's my second training camp. It wasn't my first, but it is what it is. I'm glad I'm being a part of history this weekend here in Perth, and Perth's a really great city.
Yeah, very cool.
Great place.
I was going to ask you, does that mean something to you? I mean, it's been a long time coming to get over there in Perth, and finally it's happening. Does it mean something special to you?
It does. It's great for me. Like I said, I'm part of history here, which is good. Fighting here in Perth, and looking forward to going to work on Sunday. So yeah.
Very cool. Well, people paying attention to your social media have been saying you look a little trim, that you're looking good. Have you done anything special? Has there been a different approach this time around?
Mate, this is my second training camp. Fuck, I mean, sure. Yeah, I was in Thailand for a while training for the Sydney fight, and then I got pulled, and then I had to go into another training camp. But of course I should be fit. Should be ready. There's no reason for it.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, physically, you look good. Let me ask mentally, Mark. I mean, you mentioned getting pulled and, just everything that happened behind the scenes. I mean, how's your head? I mean, did that mess with you at all? Your motivation, your focus, anything like that? Or are you just kind of forgetting all of that?
No, I'm not. I'm focusing on the fight on Curtis Blade. I'm looking forward to fighting this Sunday. Mark has 3 more fights with the UFC, and then we'll go from there. I still got a chance at running for the title. And I'm number 5. And I can see if I can put Curtis away this Sunday, and then ask for someone higher. I can get someone higher and go from there. One step at a time, one fight at a time.
Yeah. Let me ask you, when they came to you with the name Curtis Blades, I mean, no disrespect, but, he's kind of a newer guy. Did you know anything about him at all, or, did you have to look him up?
No, I didn't know anything about Curtis. I thought the number 9 guy was the guy that called me out. So, I wrote something on social media about it. And, it was totally the wrong guy, and I had to pull the social media post. But, I have no disrespect for Curtis, all I ask is that he be an honest, clean fighter. So this is an even fight. That's all I ask, That's all I ever ask.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens on Sunday.
Do you break him down at all? I mean, are you a kind of guy that watches tape? I mean, as long as you've been in this game, do you worry at all about what another guy does, or do you even think about it?
Yeah, I leave that to my coaches. I myself focus on myself and making myself fitter and stronger and mentally prepared for the fight. The game plan comes from the coaches, and I just go from there. I try to work them out early in the fight and then go from there. That's all it is. That's how I do things.
Yeah, for sure. What do you feel like before a fight, Mark? I wonder. I mean, do you still get nerves? Do you still have that tension, that kind of nervous energy at all, or is it just you've been in the game too long?
You always get nervous before fights, so you just have to channel that energy, that nervousness into the right place. When I walk out to the arena, there's no nerves. It's the best feeling in the world. Like, it's bigger than drugs, way better. And I ain't putting drugs up there, but I'm just saying there's nothing like it in the world. Like walking out to the arena to fight, and it's one of those things that you just can't do it and can't feel unless you're a fighter yourself. So
yeah, no doubt. I'm curious. Talking about a run at the heavyweight title, did you watch Stipe Miocic's fight against Francis Ngannou? Did you have your eyes on that, and what'd you think about it?
Yeah, I watched it. I watched it. It was a great fight. I thought Stipe did what he did, and that's what he normally does. And Ngannou had no answers for it. Stipe pulled out his cards, and then Ngannou didn't have anything for it. So that's basically how it went. If Ngannou wasn't going to knock out Stipe, then he was going to get grinded out, and that's what happened.
Yeah. Do you? Is Stipe a fight that you think about a lot? Is it more about the title fight, or do you think about getting in there with Stipe?
Oh, of course, I like to rematch with Stipe. He got me at a shitty time, but he nonetheless he's a well-deserved champion. I know he's a public servant, but the best thing about it, Stipe, is he doesn't take steroids. He's clean. So good on him. He's had a long road of fighting. A lot of these guys, but great champion. I'd love to dance with him again.
Yeah, I think that'd be a rematch people would like to see. Well, I know you said you can't look past Blades at all, but do you think about where it might put you? I mean, we just heard that Verdum versus Volkov matchup. We hear Kane talking about maybe trying to get back in there. I mean, do you think where exactly on that list this should put you?
Well, hopefully I can get I got to the number 5 spot because of Jared Lewis, and I have to fight number 9 now. So after this, if I can put it past Curtis, I can ask for someone higher than I am. So see what happens this Sunday. Curtis, of course, you can't look past Curtis. He's he's number 9 for a reason, and this is the heavyweight division. So he's looking to out wrestle me and put me down and grind me out, but and I'm looking to punch his head into the universe, and that's how it's going to go. We're going to see what happens on Sunday, and then go from there. Who knows what's going to happen?
Simple as that, man. You said you got 3 fights left with the UFC. Is that right? I mean, do you think 3 fights left in your career? Is that possible at all, or do you think about the end yet?
Of course. I mean, I get reminded all the time. I am the oldest fighter in the universe. I think I got 3. I have got 3 fights with UFC. I haven't had a good run with a lot of the things that's happened with it. Everyone knows I'm in court about trying to get an even playing field. They call me a whinging bitch, but they can all go and get fucked. I survived the era of pride. Where everyone knowing their juices. And I'm here now, and they're trying to make things even. So after the 3 fights with the UFC, the contract, I'd like to fight globally like 3 more times, and then retire. I'll hang it up. I just I want to go out there in my best shape ever, and then go from there. So I love competing still, and I feel if I can still compete with these young guys, even though they're half my age, why not still do it?
Absolutely. Why is that fight so important to you?
It's not like I'm going to make it.
No, I was going to say, why is that legal fight so important to you? Because, you've only got a handful of fights left. It's going to take time. It's going to take money. It's not going to be easy to get stuff done. Why is it important to you to fight that fight? Because it might not do anything for you.
I probably won't do anything for you, but at the end of the day, it's about it'll do something for the guys coming through, the boys and the girls that come to this level. The message we're sending out nowadays is it's okay to cheat. We should be sending the message out, like what Stipe is, hard work gets to the top. You can't hang out make it to the top end without hard work. We're sending the wrong message out right now. We need to make it even. So these freaking little cheating little bums that take the shortcuts don't deserve to be here. Don't give them no props or endorsements or nothing. Why should they get anything? They've taken the shortcuts out of here to get here. Guys like Stipe work hard. All these guys that are clean, they've worked hard to get there. They should get all the props. They should get all the all the things because they've worked hard to get here. They haven't taken no shortcuts. They haven't fucking stuck needles in their asses like these bums, fucking Brock Lesnar, and yet they get all the difference. That's what's really important. Is it to me? It should be fair.
Yeah,
it should be even.
Well said, Mark. Well,
we set a bad example for the kids coming.
Absolutely. Well said.
All the messages the kids got nowadays. All the kids got these days. They say, "Oh man, to make it to the top of the UFC ladder is we gotta cheat." Come on now. Anyway,
no, that's good. Shit. No, I appreciate that, man. I don't want to make you spend too much time on that. I know you got a fight to think about, so I did want to touch on that, though, so thank you very much. But at the end of the day, man, you got Sunday to take care of, so, I guess we know what a Mark Hunt fight looks like, right? You're just going out there and looking for the big KO. Is that what we can expect, the big show for you to put on?
No, you're going to go see Mark Hunt go out there and do his thing and dance, he's going to move, he's going to do his best to kick ass. That's what he's going to do. So, I'm going to do my best to try and stay in the game. I'll move a bit higher and put it past Curtis Blades.
Welcome back to the MMA Road Show. That was Mark Hunt. Always love talking to Mark, man. He keeps it real, and definitely need to circle back with him. I want to talk to him a little bit about his legal battles, but obviously, 2 days out from his fight, you don't want to spend too much time talking about that. You gotta be a little bit appropriate with how things happen. But
because that's the kind of shit you could reach out at any point.
Exactly. But I do respect him. I do respect the fact that he's saying, listen, I know this is never really going to help me, but I still think it matters. So it's cool. All that said,
my fight matters.
All that said, I'm picking Curtis Blades.
Are you?
I am. Did you pick Mark Hunt?
Picked Hunt. Picked Hunt. I think Hunt's gonna do it. But I think Curtis is super, super tough. But I think this is like one of those ones where I think Hunt's like, you're bringing these upcomers, these young guys to take me down, and he's like, he's going to come fired up, and I think he's going to channel that Samoan power. You know, they're going to do all the haka welcomes and all that other good stuff that they always do, and I just think he's going to catch him with that overhand and dunzo.
Could be interesting. All right, let's talk about the main event. Yoel Romero versus Luke Rockhold, the interim middleweight title fight. Listen, Whitaker was supposed to be here, of course. We all know that. Here's what I hate. The fact that, look, this fight is not going to sell well. There's no question about it. I don't think this pay-per-view is going to do very well. The media coverage this week has been bad. I mean, the UFC already admits that when they do a foreign pay-per-view, it doesn't do well. The fact that we weren't there definitely didn't help anything out. I haven't seen a lot of coverage coming forward, so I don't expect, big numbers from this pay-per-view card. But the thing that sucks about that is that Yoel Romero versus Luke Rockhold is a sick fucking fight, dude. I mean, it's a great, great fight, and I'm pumped for this fight, man. I'm really pumped for this fight. And we talked about the undercard. I'm hyped about it. I mean, I think there's a lot of great fights. And I think this is an amazing fight. I don't think it's getting the attention it deserves for sure. But I'm pumped for this fight. And I'm torn, man. Yoel Romero is an absolute monster. He was not necessarily getting ready for this fight, but, he stepped in once Whitaker was out. Luke Rockhold, on the other hand, was prepping for this, was prepping for a championship fight. Luke Rockhold, I think has his edge back, which I'm excited about. Like, I think for a while, kind of behind the scenes or whatever, like, I think Luke Rockhold went Hollywood for a while, man. I think he got to a point where he was pretty excited that he was rich. He was pretty excited that he knew a lot of people in the business, you know what I mean, in the show business. Demi Lovato and whatever else,
Taylor
and blah blah.
Swift.
Yeah. I think
Tay-Tay.
you know how we all just do our Tay-Tay thing. I think to be honest with you, I know that's not a technical breakdown of a fight, but when I'm just talking about mentality and I'm talking about people, I feel like for a while Luke Rockhold was kind of feeling Luke Rockhold.
Yeah,
and I think that cost him.
And then Michael Bisping showed up.
Yeah, and I think that cost him, man. And I think as silly as that may sound to some people, if you know what was going on behind the scenes, I do believe Luke Rockhold was feeling Luke Rockhold, and now I feel like he's back. He's got that edge back. He's got that competitive nature back to him, and I think he's an incredible athlete. And not that Yoel Romero is not. Yoel Romero is a goddamn beast, man. That dude is scary. I mean, that was, his open workout from last year was like our most watched video of the entire year. I mean, and rightfully so, because that guy is a freak. But I'm favoring Rockhold, man. I think he's back.
And I agree, and I think you're completely right. I think he was on such a little streak there that he was definitely feeling himself, and then Bisping caught him at a moment when he maybe was just distracted, I mean. But the thing is when he came back, I think that fight against Branch was the big show to see where his head was, and how he was ready to perform. And he just made David Branch look like he wasn't even on the same level. Mm-hmm. And this is David who had two different, belts in a different organization. Granted, it was a different organization. It wasn't like he held two belts in the UFC. But this David Branch is a stud. And he was able to make David Branch not look good. So I think Luke's coming in focus. I think he's reinvigorated himself. I know there is a point where, his camp has sort of shifted with Kane being out and DC being busy doing his thing. Like, he's just like this focused, angry dude, man. And I think he's just very, very dangerous. And I think if he's got good wheels to him, I think he's going to be able to keep the speed. I think he's be able to keep the distance. And I think ever since we saw Whitaker kind of take Yoel down a notch, he doesn't seem to me as invincible. To me, if he fought me, he would be invincible. But to see he that sort of aura around him has sort of dropped a little bit. And I think Luke's not afraid of him, and just Luke, I think with his reach and with he's got good striking, he's able to come at different angles. I think he's just going to have too many weapons for Yoel. I think Yoel, if anything else, is going to – I don't think that he's afraid of his power. But I think Yoel's going to kind of be one-dimensional in the sense that he's going to be trying to get in there. He's going to try to clinch. He's going to try to get him down. He's going to try to do some ground and pound. But I don't think he's going to be able to catch up to Luke. I think Luke's going to do a good job of keeping the distance, striking from the outside, keep him guessing on the angles, and I just see him wearing Yoel down by the end of the fight. And, I don't know if I want to say that this is going to be a finish. If anything, it might just be a good, strong decision in Luke's favor. But I see Luke coming out for sure with his hand raised.
I'm the same way. I mean, that's you broke it down perfectly, and I think that's exactly the way I see it. I mean, I see either a late finish or a decision for Luke Rockhold, man. And I'm not taking anything away from Yoel Romero. I think he's an absolute monster. But I think Luke Rockhold is the right pick right now.
Are you missing all the translator interviews where Yoel's like, and he's like, he says, he feels strong from the inside, blah, 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 blah. And the strength comes from blah, 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 blah. God himself. It's like the most drawn-out, dramatic interviews ever.
It's the worst interviews to do for a video ever. It's the worst interviews to do
because I'm like, can he just like say his whole sentence and then you translate? You don't need to break up. He literally said 4 words. 4 words. I'm like, can you not remember more than 4 words? But the way he says them, he's like delivering a line in a movie where it's like he hears the song coming up and it's building, and he's like, like the sun shines on my back. Translate that. And I feel warm feelings inside. Translate that. And my power will flow.
And you wonder why people want to hear more from you than they want to hear from me. I ain't got no entertainment like that. I got nothing. All right, listen, I will say good news. So it sucks, man. We weren't in Berlin. We weren't in Paris. Good news, I will be in London. I told everybody, we set out on this terrible 2-week stretch, and we said, listen, we're told this is not an indicator of things to come. I will be in London. So I'll be in London, by the way, on my 40th birthday, turning 40 the week of the UFC London events. I'm just getting
welcome to 40s, young man.
I'm just getting old. But anyway, so yeah, we said it's not necessarily an indication of what's to come, is what our bosses said, and I will be in London in March. So that's good news. That's good news. All right. Other than that,
is good news.
Yep. All right. Other than that, we've been talking too long. We've been interviewing too long. We've been doing too much too long. You got anything special to say?
No, not
Thanks
so much.
For listening.